This week on the PRESSURECAST, Nintendo announces several new 3DS titles, a PlayStation exclusive gets delayed, and PewDiePie gets kicked off Twitter for joining ISIS. Kind of. It's Monday, September 5th, 2016. Everything happened in the world of video games is here, now, on the PRESSURECAST. Hey, Pressure Pals. Welcome to the 146th episode of the PRESSURECAST. VideoGamesAreDumb.com's weekly news panic that posts every single Monday on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, TuneIn Radio, Google Play Music, and America's longest-running independent newspaper at ShepherdExpress.com. My name is Colin Tanner, and I'm caffeinated and ready to rabble to you about some gosh darn video games, and across from me, from OptimismVaccine.com, Steve Cuff.
Hey, what's up, Colin?
Oh, you know, girl.
Oh, yeah?
Just hanging out. You know
Just
how it
hanging
is.
out.
Just, got some microphones, got some cameras. Figured.
I was at a wedding last weekend.
No, you were celebrating love.
That's right.
Ugh. Well, we're not here to do that today. We're doing the opposite. In case you've never listened to the show before, each week the PRESSURECAST slices up the latest video game news, past, present, and future, and slices it up into several sensational segments and puts it right in your ears in 2 hours or less. If you want to contact the show, you can email pressurecast@gmail.com. You can call or text 954-947-7377 to leave a voice or text message, or you can even tweet at PRESSURECASTPod with the hashtag PRESSURECAST, and we will read your question, comment, or concern on air. We have a voicemail and an email in the third part of the show, so stay tuned for that. I guess it's like the third section of the show. It's like the second to last segment of the show. This is too inside baseball.
Whatever.
If you've never listened to the show before, you're probably just like, I don't care. And if you have, you're probably like, I stopped listening way before then. All right. Well, we better get on the train. Chugga chug chug chug. Here comes the train. Tooty toot toot. Boop, boop. That's right, it's time for the Hype Train. Feel the PR vibrations as we barrel towards video game satisfaction station on the Hype Train. This is the part of the show we talk about all those upcoming video games to get you hyped up to spend all your money and become a video game guru. We are going to be starting off with some sad news.
Oh.
Steve, have you ever played a Gran Turismo game?
Yeah.
What was the last one you played?
A-Spec.
Was it A-Spec? Like Part 3 A-Spec on the PlayStation 2?
Yep.
Wow, that is like circa 2001.
Yep.
Did you have the red box or the blue box?
Red box.
You bought a used copy, I see.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I have bad news if you're looking forward to Gran Turismo Sport. Polyphony Digital has officially delayed the title. The studio founder, Kazunori Yamauchi, had this to say about the delay. We've already dedicated so much effort towards... Wow, okay. See, this is what I'm talking about. People don't use proper punctuation. I copied the quote. Listen to all right, we're going to try this again. We've already dedicated so much effort towards since announcing the title. There's a comma that should be in there. Towards since announcing the title. We do not want to compromise the experience in any way. We cannot confirm a new release date at this time. We are more committed than ever to making GT Sport the best Gran Turismo game to date. Of course, it's not called Gran Turismo 7. Which is
it's kind of weird.
It's a little strange there.
At least they didn't do the thing where it's like, here's the new game in the series. We're just gonna call it Gran Turismo.
Oh, that'd be horrible.
I'd be very upset about that.
Now remember, last spring they announced they were going to have a beta, and then they canceled the beta out of nowhere. And went, oh, okay, I guess it really is coming out this year. Now, Gran Turismo, if you're kind of new to the series, delays are kind of what they do. I mean, Part 1 and Part 2 came out in quick succession on the PlayStation 1. Mm-hmm. Part 3, pretty much, yeah. And then Part 4, it was delay after delay after delay after delay. And then there was one on the PSP that was like delayed for over, 18 months. The one on the PlayStation 3, which even had a prologue. They had to release a prologue to the game where you could have like a demo that you had to buy. And then, what was it, like 2.5 years after they announced it, they finally released Gran Turismo 5. And then they just squeaked out Gran Turismo 6. But there was even a delay for that one. Gran Turismo Sport is no longer coming out in 2016. That's not really a surprise. However, let's take a look at the PlayStation 4's fall lineup right now when it comes to exclusives. Dragon Quest Builders, which is also on the Vita. The Last Guardian. That was it. I actually just named all the exclusives for the PlayStation 4 this fall.
Also, part of me believes that The Last Guardian isn't coming out.
Now, do you want to talk delays?
I know. I won't believe it till I see it.
Wow, you're doubting Thomas over here. Does the PlayStation 4 have a problem this fall by not having exclusives? Now, arguably, you could say that they haven't needed exclusives up until this point to sell systems, but now that people are finally getting warmed up and cozy with their PlayStation 4 after 3 years, they're about to announce a brand new console. Don't they need something that kind of reaffirms why you need to go with this over Xbox One, a cheaper alternative?
Yeah, it's. I mean, it's not ideal. I don't think it's a breaking point for them. It's like, oh no, now the Xbox is going to overtake them.
No.
They have a big enough install base, and there's enough multi-platform stuff that people are going to gravitate towards the PS4 version. So I don't think it matters that much. Like right now, the only thing I can think of is, you're not going to sell them on exclusives, but there's enough exclusive stuff from prior years. Plus, if someone's like, yeah, I want a PS4 for Christmas because, I want to play the new Call of Duty, I want to play Battlefield, whatever, they're going to get a PS4 for that.
I mean, I guess. I wonder how much people associate certain brands with certain third-party games like Call of Duty or FIFA or something like that.
And the other thing you have to consider, too, is how strong is the Xbox lineup for this fall? Is it really enough to shift the tide, if you will? They
have Gears, and I know that maybe you and I might not be as involved with Gears, but that is a major Xbox franchise. Sure. That is the big two. It's Halo and it's Gears, and actually I do want to talk about that later on. I guess I'm just sort of wondering with this September 7th event, so this Wednesday, when they announced the PlayStation 4 Neo, because come on, everybody knows about this, do they need to have maybe a quick surprise, being like, guess what? We have another PlayStation exclusive this fall, just to sort of give some buzz, because if you're just announcing a new console that plays the exact same games, where do you go with that,
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they just drop something like that. I think that would be very in character for Sony. It seems like something they would do. And the other thing you have to consider as well is we have VR coming.
Oh, yeah.
So I guess part of it is we don't have these exclusive regular PS4 games, but we have this VR system coming in October, and we've got all these games, and that's kind of their big selling point. I mean,
there are some games that don't necessarily require VR to play. They just sort of have enhancements to it. Like Trackmania Turbo, it's on Xbox One, PC, and PlayStation 4. But as far as I know, only the PlayStation 4 version is going to get this VR support, this free update. Same thing with the 100-foot robot golf. I understand there is a VR mode of that game, and that's what they're pushing. But you can play that totally without a VR headset. So that's, if I'm not mistaken, that's also going to be available on Xbox One. But they talked a lot before revealing the Neo, or at least revealing the existence of the Neo prior to E3, just to give people a heads up that it wasn't going to be there, right? And Andrew House said, well, we want to follow the Apple method, where we announce something and we release it right away, and I think they're learning why they should do that with something like Gran Turismo Sport, which they announced it a while ago and it's getting delayed, and by the time it comes out, people already build it up in their head, or something like No Man's Sky, where the delays just made people imagine crazier and crazier things that simply weren't in the game, and admittedly some trailers that didn't quite look like the finished product there. I wonder if they have any games that they're just going to go, yes, we are not only announcing this new system, but here's a game that's going to be out November, whatever. Because it's a pretty empty fall, all things considered.
Sure,
There's not a whole lot of stuff outside of maybe downloadable titles. You really do have almost like one game a week and then a bunch of very small random golf game, anime game kind of scenarios. I mean, God, is there anything they could even announce? New Prep of the Rap of VR?
I hope so. Fingers crossed.
Maybe if you could actually use the move controller and do the chop.
Really? Medieval 3.
There are people out there that really like Medieval.
Were
you really one of the, did you like Medieval?
I liked the first game when it came out, but it's one of those games that I revisited and it hasn't aged particularly well.
That's unfortunate because he's already dead. Can't get any worse than that.
No.
Toot toot. Well, we were just talking about PlayStation Move for a second and PlayStation VR. Here's a little interesting tidbit. Press Start, which is an Australian website, they actually found that Sony is prepping to sell double packs of PlayStation Move controllers. The description says that these are not required for VR. Not required for VR titles, but it will bring the best experience whilst playing VR titles that will utilize Move controllers. Nearly all PlayStation VR titles will support DualShock 4, and several games will deliver an enhanced experience with Move controllers, yada, yada, yada.
Well, this raises a very important question. Does this confirm Samba de Amigo VR?
That would be so amazing.
Make it happen, Sony.
Oh, my God. But, here's my thing. The PlayStation Move came out, what was it, 2010, 2011? It was very impressive. Me and a buddy of mine, we had a whole evening with the Move controller. It was incredible. We were laughing our asses off.
That sounds vaguely sexual.
It does. There was a lot of moving going on. But it definitely was more precise than the Wiimote. Infinitely more precise. A great alternative. That was a while ago. And while I understand that VR is this new technology and it doesn't really need the most advanced controllers, are they making a mistake by doing this sort of cost-efficient reissuing of the Move controller? Should they have created something that maybe is a little bit more advanced than 2011 technology that was trying to emulate what the Wii did?
Yeah, I'm a little confused by this as well, because one thing the Wii has done over the years is people forget that controller has evolved significantly. You know, they came out with the advanced motion attachment, and then they were able to implement that technology into the actual controller. The only thing I can think with Sony is if they feel like they've maximized that technology and they can get one-to-one with it, that's fine, but I don't know if they're at that point. And for me, I'm interested to see how they implement the Move controllers into VR experiences, because the only thing I've really used the Move for is Johann Sebastian Joust, which is amazing.
Which you don't even actually need, like, to look at your console during that.
Yeah, and you can do it. You can do that game without Move controllers, but I think Move controllers make it a little bit better. But yeah, I don't know. And God, they did such a bad job of just selling the concept of the Move controller initially. Like, they tried to do the Sony version of Wii Sports that they packed in with it. It was shitty.
Sports Champions.
Yeah, and it's like, man, just if you want to do this,
that game was actually real fun. I had that was one of the games we were playing skiing, and just like, oh my God, I have to ski down the hill. It was insane. It was so stupid.
I think one of the best ways to sell VR is if you include some sort of download code for a game that really utilizes the Move controllers, and you just pack in that download code with the Move controllers, then you'll be in a good position.
No, they have the PlayStation VR Worlds thing that comes with the VR headset, and that will cover that. Here's what I'm trying to say here. I understand the Move controller is pretty much perfect for tracking because it's a ball that has a light on it. The camera reads that light, and that light, they made sure that the lights that it is emitting are very specific and are probably not emulated anywhere else in your surroundings, or imitated in your surroundings. However, the feel of the controller itself, while I really like the Move controller, when I think about VR, that sounds a little clunky. When you look at these alternatives they have that sort of wrap around your knuckles and things like that sounds like a far more safe experience instead of swinging these batons around. You know,
the fucking ice cream cone. This is another thing. God, I wish I was an indie VR developer, because I'd make a VR game where you just drive around in an ice cream truck, and then and you have to hand out ice cream. So you get like the wheel controller, right?
You have to drive while you're doing it, though.
So you drive the ice cream, and then you have to pick up the Move controller and hand people ice cream. Ice Cream Man Simulator, somebody make it. Come on, it's perfect.
That would only work if it could read your individual fingers. So you're kind of like steering the car with like your ring finger and your pinky, and also trying to hold the cone and trying.
Ice cream.
I cannot wait for that. See, that's what I want out of technology: is stupid shit. I don't want anything that's real serious yet. I want dumb
shit.
It should be pointed out, though, they did invest in the brand new sharpshooter controller, that gun controller they showed off at E3. It seems like they're willing to put down the money when it comes to something like the shape of a gun. Do you think we will see an update to the Move controllers as VR progresses, even if it's not successful? Because look at what they did with the Vita 2000. That wasn't a real success. They still made another one of those, even though I guess it made it more cost-efficient for them. Would you imagine Sony will make a brand new Move controller at some point in the future?
I think so, especially with their current business plan. They seem to be moving more towards a model of, instead of just completely refreshing system generations, they're doing these incremental updates. So it would make sense to eventually update the Move controller.
Well, let us know what you think about the Move controller. I mean, why not? You're going to have to be using it if you want to play in VR. I still have 4 of those things, so.
Hey, Johann Sebastian Joust party at Colin's place.
Remember, before the show we were talking about this, I picked up, I'm not even kidding you, like 7 or 8 Move controller games because they were so cheap. So, like $2 each. I got The Blob 2. I got random sword game 57. They're all not so great. But the controller itself, immaculate. In VR, questionable. Toot, toot. Sony has announced the PlayStation Plus games for the month of September. Yes, we're going to get to Xbox and Nintendo news shortly, and even PC news. On the PlayStation 4 for the month of September, you will get Journey, which, of course, is the very famous 2013.
Which is just Is it up-resed or like what?
Oh yeah,
what's-
no, yeah,
Okay.
no. They released this a while ago on the
Okay,
PlayStation 4.
that's what I thought. All right.
It's very good. You know, it looks great.
It's Journey. I
But
mean,
it-
it looked great on the PS3.
What about Lords of the Fallen, the sort of Dark Souls-esque Western developed game?
Dark Souls of Jace.
Well, do you know they're making a sequel for that, and they're not using the same developers. If that says anything to you.
Yeesh.
Yeah, I forget is it Deep Silver that's covering that right now? I think so. I can't quite recall. And Badland, which is going to be on the PlayStation 3 and Vita.
What's Badland?
It's this thing where you're flying around sort of like a desert location, and you're taking control of multiple bats, and you're trying to make sure all the bats get to the other side. It's a fun little game. I did a first hour on it like a long time ago.
Okay.
On the PlayStation 3, Datura will be out, and so will Journey and Badland, because these are cross-buy games.
Yeah.
And then Prince of Persia, The Forgotten Sands, which is actually a pretty good Prince of Persia game. It was like one of their last-ditch efforts to kind of revitalize the original franchise before rebooting it with the Scarf Prince, before they just sort of abandoned the whole franchise. And on the Vita, you are going to get Badlands and Amnesia, Memories.
And that's not an Amnesia: The Dark Descent pseudo-sequel.
I think it must be, right? I didn't look into it.
I hope it's one of those find the object games, the hidden object
Well, like
game.
the Russian find the object games. This is altogether nearly $50 worth of games. You're seeing a lot of people online bitching about the increase of price for PlayStation Plus, which I don't blame them. 88 cents. No, I'm sorry. I don't want to exaggerate. 84 cents a month. More than last year.
My God.
I know.
What's the world coming to?
How am I going to scramble 84 cents together over the course of 30 days? How you expect me to do that, Sony? And don't forget, in February, there's only 28 days. You selfish bastards.
Terrible.
And you announced the PlayStation 4 in February. Connect the dots, people. Connect
Anti-consumer
the dots.
policies.
Wake up, sheeple. Toot toot. Firewatch is coming to the Xbox One on September 21st. This is from Campo Santo. And we both played this game. We actually did a spoiler cast on it. If I recall correctly, we both hated it. No.
I don't think that's the case.
No. Okay, now that we've had a few months go by, do you recommend people play this on the Xbox One?
Yeah, if you hadn't had a chance to, I definitely think you should play it.
Because I still don't know how to feel about that game in some respects. And I'm more concerned, I guess, because that game, it came out, it had its reception, which I feel was a little muted. I'm sure it was good for the team. They sold plenty of titles, I'm sure. But I wonder how well it's going to do on Xbox One, or if that just sort of feels like without that mainstream push, if it can really work.
I don't know. It's hard to say. But I think it's one of those games where it doesn't stick the landing for sure, but it's worth playing. It's definitely worth checking out. If you're an Xbox One guy and you haven't played it on other platforms, then this is a great opportunity.
I just feel like this is such a big mistake for independent developers. Look at what happened with Inside. Remember how it was on PC and Xbox One, and then 3 weeks later, hey, by the way, here's a PlayStation 4 version. Like, it was still riding the momentum. Later this month, we're going to have Firewatch and The Witness, which I think are games that people will enjoy. They will enjoy if they sit down and play them, but I wonder if it feels like independent games, more so than AAA games, are kind of the moment, you know?
Sure. No, I agree with that. But the other thing you have to take into consideration, too, is when you look at the architecture of the Xbox, is it really that big of an expense for them to port this over?
Oh, of course not, no.
Yeah, so it's just like, you know what? Is it going to sell? Is Firewatch going to sell 1 million copies on Xbox One?
Yes.
Absolutely not in a million years.
Okay.
But at the same time, it's another platform. It's another way to get yourself out there. Just like this wonderful podcast. Obviously, iTunes is the premier place for the PRESSURECAST. But you know what? There's a few people who use TuneIn Radio, and they can get it too.
A few people.
Yeah, literally like 5 of them.
Well, I'm just saying, if they do go to iTunes, they could give the PRESSURECAST 5 stars in a written review, and that'd be pretty cool. Toot toot. Moving on, we do want to talk about that Xbox news because they have announced that Forza 3 will include Halo's Warthog vehicle. This is the very famous vehicle from all of the Halo games, really. The sort of Jeep with the turret on the very back, or sometimes it would be like a plasma thing, or even a rocket launcher. I don't know how familiar you are with Halo, but this is an iconic vehicle. One of the most iconic vehicles, I'd say, ever in video games.
It also, part of the reason why it's iconic is not just because it's from Halo, but because it handles like shit, which is going to be really funny to see in a Forza game.
It handles great for me, baby. That's how I put them down. It also used to be indestructible, and then they started adding destruction to those. I think once you could blow up a Warthog, they kind of ruined it. It was hilarious shooting it with a rocket launcher and watching it flip around in the air. Either way, it's going to be available with Forza Horizon 3 on September 27th, but you have to have played either the Master Chief Collection or Halo 5 Guardians, and then it will automatically unlock with the download code that they will message you with on your Xbox One, or I guess PC, because that's going to be one of the Play Anywhere games.
Yeah.
Here's my thing, though. Microsoft has seen a bit of a dip in its stock in terms of a brand this generation. Is it from a lack of recognizable franchises? Because it seems to me that if it's not Gears and it's not Halo, everything else is sort of generic. Even when you look at what they've been putting out this generation, it's like Scream Ride, okay, a roller coaster. Forza, that's a car. Quantum Break, that's a dude holding a gun, just some nondescript dude holding a gun. They used to try and go after certain markets. They used to have the things like Voodoo Vince and Blinks the Time Sweeper Cap, which were weird games, don't get me wrong, but they had an identity that you knew was part of Xbox. And I'm not saying that Sony's gone head over heels with it, but when you see Kratos, you know that is a Sony thing. When you look at Nintendo, they rely on their previous franchises. Seeing this Warthog in Forza, which I think is cool, I really do, just sort of reestablished to me that they don't have many franchises that they can resort to. Does that hurt them overall as a brand? Does that actually mean that people don't need to pick up the next console because that franchise just doesn't... They don't have that wealth of recognizable characters.
I mean, you don't necessarily need recognizable characters and figures to establish a strong brand, but it's certainly a good strategy. People always make fun of Sony for putting out the PlayStation All-Stars, like fake Smash Brothers game, and it's just like, haha, look at all these characters, like what the fuck, Fat Princess, like that's what you got. But can you imagine that game with Microsoft characters? What would it even be?
The Arbiter, Master Chief, Blinks, as we've established, the roller coaster from Scream Ride, Voodoo Vince,
Marcus Phoenix,
the characters from the outfit.
Yeah,
it's not.
It's laughable, and
again, I'm not knocking it because they've certainly gone for realism over mascots.
Sure, they've taken a different approach, and I think you can debate whether or not it's worked for them, but. If you go even outside of video games, God, let's look at fucking car insurance. What's the most prominent car insurance company? It's Geico. Why? Because they got the gecko. They have the cavemen. Like, you could do a Smash Brothers game with Geico characters before you could do it with Microsoft IPs.
I would actually say it's progressive now with Flow.
Oh, yeah. Flow, I think Flow, there you go. There's a character. See?
Let's talk about your brand. Who do you think has more recognition right now? The gecko? Or Flow? I'm being real.
I honestly, I don't know.
I'm going to give it to Flow because I feel like the Gecko kind of lost his
momentum.
He did because he sold out. Because he used to be upset. He's like, not Geico, Gecko. He used to be so upset about it, and then finally he just bought in. He just said, "Fine, I guess I'll just join the big leagues." It's like
fucking sell out. Yeah,
used to stand for something.
Used to stand for something. And
so
also, it's not necessary. However, it can help. It can help a lot. And in Microsoft's case, they can't leverage that at all.
That sucks. That's kind of damning in a way. But I like I said, I do like the Xbox first party games. I just think that if you were to show a picture of some of their games to most people, they wouldn't be able to recognize what that connects to. Like I don't even think they would associate it with a particular console. They just be like, it's a video game. Either way, toot toot. Let's talk about some more Xbox news. If you have EA Access on PC or Xbox One, you can now play for free in quotations because you're paying $5 a month or $30 a year for EA Access, Plants vs. Zombies 2 Garden Warfare. Now, you might be asking, why is this news? Well, I mean, first of all, it is being added to the vault, but second of all, I was thinking about it, and I've been reading a lot of quarterly reports from Electronic Arts. They never mentioned this game. I don't think it did particularly well. Is EA Access, though, a sort of dud insurance, where even if a game doesn't really perform all that well for them, they can always put it in that vault, and that lures people in to spend $30 a year, and it covers the cost. They'll probably make their money back in the long run if enough people subscribe.
Well, I'd be curious to know how many people actually subscribe to EA Access. Like, is it successful? Because the only time I ever think about it is when we happen to have a news story on the show, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's a thing.
Now that you mention it, I don't think they've ever referenced it in quarterly reports with specific subscriber numbers.
Mm-hmm.
That's a little weird.
And boy, you know what's an obtrusive service that I have uninstalled multiple times from my computer? Why, it's Origin.
I like Origin. I like the interface. It's a really pretty interface. I think it looks better than Steam. You know, and maybe that's because...
Hot take of the cinch.
No, I don't... really, if you looked at a side-by-side of what your game collection looks like in Origin compared to what it looks like in Steam, it's night and day. Now, Steam is probably less hardware-intensive, and that's why they do it. But when I see that shelf with all the really high-res JPEGs of my games, I feel like I own those games. I like the way that Origin looks. I prefer to use Steam, but I'm saying I like the way it looks.
Yeah. Well, and it's one of those things, too, where I think people... aside from the fact that you can argue what the value is in that sort of service, people just don't want another program to deal with. It's like, man, I got good old games, I got Steam, I got this, I got that. Holy shit, I updated my drivers on my graphic card the other day, and it just installed some bullshit called like Raptor or something, and it's the same shit. It's like, what the fuck? Get this the fuck out of here. I don't need this.
The only good ones that are out there
is Uplay. No.
Just Uplay. That's it.
That's it. We only use Uplay.
How many Uplay coins do you got?
Oh, God, I'm fucking drowning. I'm Scrooge McDuck in those Uplay coins.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just got a message from my Uplay friends list. Okay. Ha! Toot. Ark Survival Evolved. It's a very popular dinosaur game.
You can poop in it.
It's funny. It's weird. They're dinosaurs. You can kill them. You can craft stuff. It's a good time. And it's already in early access on PC, on Steam, and on the Xbox One. And they announced Scorched Earth, which is kind of an ironic name. We'll get to why later, which is a DLC for $20. They said it's completely finished, it's polished, but at the same time it adds so many new things. They have over 50 new items, 50 new, or a bunch of new creatures, new abilities that they actually want to charge for it. But the original game, is still in early access. 5.5 million people have purchased this game already. Is it fair, or is it, I guess, let's not ask if it's fair because, it's whatever they want it to be, but is it business smart for them to release DLC, paid DLC, for a game that's still technically in early access, or is this just the new age we live in, and they're just being a little bit more upfront about it instead of just releasing a game with tons of bugs and polishing it over time?
Mm-hmm. Well, there's kind of two levels to this, and the first thing is this the age that we're living in? Yes. Is this something that I would recommend companies do? No, this is a very bad look. Okay, this is the game, like, you bought this game in early access, understanding that you're playing something that isn't technically finished yet, that's going to be updated frequently with more content added to it, and the game is going to develop, and it's going to change over time, and a year from now it'll probably be fundamentally different than it is today. And then you release DLC, which you claim is finished?
Mm-hmm.
So how is it finished if the core mechanics of the main game are still evolving? I don't know. I don't understand it.
They said it's a big DLC, but the scope of just that DLC is much smaller than the overall game.
Sure. But it just rubs me the wrong way that you would offer upgrades to something that isn't technically finished yet.
You should see the responses online, though. It has been insane. I believe that their overall ratings are down 17%, just for Ark Survival Evolved, because people are so mad about this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little weirded out by that, though, because they're not taking away the game from you.
Yeah.
I think that people just are mad because they assume that all those bonus features and all those extra items would be going into the regular game. I think they're done adding items for the regular game.
Sure.
That's all you're going to get.
Mm-hmm.
I think people are just upset because they had that expectation that all updates would be free in the future. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that are going, Control F and typing in stuff and trying to find the exact wording so they can call them liars.
Yeah, and I don't think you should harass the developers over that. It's just I don't see the point of announcing this now. Mm-hmm. Like, even if you're working on this DLC...
I think it's already out, too.
Yeah. So let's say you're working on this. It's done. It's ready to go. why wouldn't you just hold on to it until the game comes out and then like officially comes out as finished and then announce it? Or take the damn game out of early access, or say, hey, here's the date when we're going to have our final beta update, and then it's going to go out of early access. Like, there's so many different things here that it does not make any sense to me.
But when you look at something that's released $60 on disc, like Destiny, and that game arguably was not where it needed to be when it launched. They've actually added a lot of free stuff. They've fixed up that game a lot.
Sure.
But no doubt they've had paid DLC. I mean, if you would have called that game early access, I wouldn't have doubted it, because that's basically where Ark Survival Evolved is. I'm very conflicted on this. I don't know really where to go. I feel like if this was not on PC, Ark Survival Evolved would have just been a complete game and just on store shelves.
Yeah, well, and that's the other thing, too, with early access is, in theory, it's great when done properly. If you look at Nuclear Throne, that's a great example.
Look at Minecraft.
Minecraft is, that's kind of like the proto-early access.
You could buy it for $5, and now you have to pay 20-something or 30-something to play that game.
So there's different ways to approach it, but this is not... If I were to make a list of best practice for companies that are using early access, releasing paid DLC while your game is still technically in development is not a good look.
Yeah, 100% within their legal right, within their business right, within their creative right, but probably not... they're not protecting their brand.
Doesn't make you look good, and you know what? If you're upset about it, don't buy that shit.
You're looking like the Affleck duck instead of Flo.
You
know?
Want to be the duck?
You don't want to be the duck after all those 9/11 jokes? Or whatever. What do you even say? I forget. Gilbert Godfrey. Whatever. People don't know what we're talking about. Let's move on. Toot toot. Hitman. Yes, Hitman has been going through a sort of episodic experiment over the past year, and I would say it's been very successful. I played it, really loved it. You hear just the passion of the players online. People are talking about their stories on how they took out their targets, and they can't wait for the next episode. In the meantime, they continue to experiment on the individual stages. Other people said, hell nah, dog. I want it on a disc. Well, good news. You will be getting that on January 31st, 2017 for $60 on the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. It will be $50 on PC. We have a quote here from Hans Serif, who is the studio head of IO Interactive. He said, especially for our fans who want to own the game in a box, we've made it a high-quality steel book box. We've also added loads of additional bonus content to release on January 31st. For everyone getting this beautiful edition of the game on disc and everyone owning the digital full experience or upgrade versions of the game. So they're going to be including 3 bonus missions if you did that. This was a huge experiment for this franchise, and we were recording episodes, obviously, when they announced that they were going episodic, and we heard that response when it happened. Very negative. Yeah, I think even we were a bit skeptical, if I remember correctly.
Sure.
I was a little bit more supportive. I can't really remember where you were at when they announced this.
I think I was mostly just confused.
It was bumblefucked, because it was going to be like, oh, you're going to buy it on disc, and then we're going to progressively update the game, and then it was like, what? Why am I buying this on disc then?
Yeah.
And is this a PS4 exclusive or what? Because they had it on the Sony stage. All in all, do you think this experiment has paid off? Because you haven't played the game. Do you feel like you've read and heard enough good things that this has actually helped the brand? We're going to keep talking about brands here, but it's helped the brand as opposed to where it was after Absolution. I believe that was the last one.
Yeah, I think so. And they've proven themselves through these different missions that, like, you know what? You're getting high quality little snapshots here. I think it's a great game that people really love, and by kind of dropping it in every couple months, you get a new episode or whatever, you keep Hitman in the conversation. Whereas if you have a single game release, basically people talk about it for a couple weeks and then all the players drop off. And here you're getting people jumping back into it again, that's nice. It's good. It works out. I didn't think this was something that could work for an action game, but because of the type of game that Hitman is, it's worked better than I expected.
I knew how it could work. I didn't expect them to pull it off. And they really nailed it. They absolutely 110% made something that is everything you would want out of a Hitman game. That sort of forces you to take your time and find the minutia of every single stage and find these weird quirks and just all the gifs, all the videos, all the conversations, all the podcasts. This game, like you said, has continued that conversation all year round. And I really hope Square Enix takes note of this, because they've announced that they're going to be doing that Final Fantasy VII remake. I think it should be episodic. I mean, they already said that it's going to be, episodic, but each episode is going to be the size of a full-price game. I would love it if they would release a JRPG, maybe have each episode be 10 hours and only release one episode a month and have it go on for maybe a very long period of time, because, the older you get, I found that the older audience is more likely to play a remake of Final Fantasy VII, but they also have less time to play a remake of Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, I've said this before, and if people made episodic JRPGs or shorter JRPGs, I'd be interested in embracing the genre again, because I haven't really played many JRPGs extensively since high school because I don't have the fucking time.
I'm Setsuna's son, only like 24 hours long.
Exactly.
Which just sounds insane. That's a full day of your life just spending like crying over anime girls. It was awesome.
Sounds like every day of your life.
Okay, true. You leave my pillow alone. Toot
Those
toot.
tear stains.
EVE Online has been around for 13 years, and it's it's one of the biggest MMOs out there. Maybe it doesn't have the largest fan base, but it has probably the most passionate fan base I can think of. This is one of those games where it takes place in space. You can become an accountant in space, working for a corporation. You can become a corporate spy, becoming an accountant in another corporation to sabotage them because you're working for someone else. It's basically the closest thing to rolling dice online I could think of, without just, having a webcam and rolling dice with people who are playing with online. They have announced that they are going to have a free-to-play version of this game. They're doing this by having alpha and omega clones. Alpha clones are able to train and use a specific set of skills to fly some of the most often used ships. That's what you get to do. If you're an Omega clone, you're basically the people that have already been paying for this game. You get unlimited access to skill progression and rapid skill training. Same old, same old. CCP's Andre Norgren, they're all, I forget where these guys are from, like Norway or something. We knew that the mandatory monthly subscription is a big barrier for new players. It's also one of the most common cancellation reasons for those who leave EVE. At the same time, EVE was very much designed as a subscription game from the start, and it has been a challenge to find a way to change that without also messing with the fundamentals that we really love about the EVE. That's what she says. I was talking to some people online, and I asked them, I was like, why didn't people stick around before? And they're like, well, there's only a 7-day subscription otherwise, and it's a pretty beefy game.
Yeah.
Is this actually, is this going to bring in those long-term players that they're hoping for? Or is EVE just sort of what it is, and there's already that market, and anyone that even wants to get into that game is going to shell out the money? They don't want to be this person flying the ships. They want to be the person that, fixes ships for a living.
Sure. It's tough to say because I know with World of Warcraft you would get 2 weeks or 30 days for a free trial or something like that. And maybe that's enough to hook you.
A baby could play that game. And I'm not knocking World of Warcraft. Blizzard is very accessible. I love Overwatch. You love Overwatch. But that is a baby game compared to EVE.
EVE is nebulous, and that's not a space joke. So I don't know. It's tough to say. I think if you're curious enough, if you've been thinking about pulling the trigger on EVE, this might be a good way to get into it to see if it's the type of game for you. I'd be interested to see if it brings more people in. For me personally, am I going to invest time in this? No, because we just talked about how I don't have time for this shit. I don't have time for EVE.
Maybe it's just to reduce intimidation. Because at this point, I would never play because I look at it and go, that's way too dense for me. I don't even think I could get into that. Because if you play EVE, that's it. You play EVE. That is your game. If you find time to play something else, it's like EVE becomes a job for some of these people. Even the whole, the whole Benghazi thing. When one of those people got killed, he was one of the upper people in EVE. Like, there's a whole story about that. And when you find out about how much of his time was devoted to working out peace between two warring corporations, it's like, are you serious? And they actually have a bunch of people with, great, important degrees. They use their degrees in EVE. They have accountants in EVE. They have economics people in EVE. Economists. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
Anyway.
That's the word.
Toot toot. H1Z1. That's a zombie game.
Oh, remember that?
Yeah. Remember it was coming to Xbox One and PlayStation 4?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that has been put on pause indefinitely. According to the producer, Chris Wine, it has become apparent that our schedule was just too risky. As a result, I have decided to pause our efforts on the console version and put 100% of the focus on the PC version of the game right now. This is that King of the Kill version of the game. What does this mean for Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 launch? As soon as we ship the full PC experience out of early access, we will turn our focus back to converting the same experience to run on the consoles. I don't want to promise an exact date since we have committed to doing it in the best possible blah, 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 blah. Who cares? He's just trying to, be like, no, we're still doing it. H1Z1 was one of the biggest games 3 years ago. It has definitely lost some mainstream appeal. Is this just too little too late? Is the idea of even releasing this on console, is there even no point in doing that when so many other games? We're talking in an era where 7 Days to Die, a game that was ripping off H1Z1 that took forever to develop, I own a copy of that on the PlayStation 4 in a box. Is the ship sailed for H1Z1? Is it too late?
I think so. If you look at like saturation points for genres and subgenres, the zombie survival saturation point, it has been reached, and then we have gone far beyond that. There's
last
no
year
point.
was over.
Yeah, there's too much of this shit going around. H1Z1, from my standpoint, isn't that great anyway.
It's fun.
Yeah, it's fine, but in the hierarchy of these types of games, there's more interesting stuff going on in things like DayZ or Rust or things like that. So I don't see a reason.
You don't mean DayZ. You do not mean that.
What? There's more interesting things going on in the game? I don't like DayZ.
DayZ was hot fucking garbage.
I do not enjoy playing it. However, I recognize the fact that there are things going on there that are far more interesting than whatever H1Z1 offers.
I think I got confused with, what was that, War Z?
Oh, yeah, that's a totally different thing.
That was a different. That's what they did there. They made sure you got confused so you'd buy the crappy game.
Congratulations.
Yeah, you did it, you assholes.
Yeah, I don't like playing DayZ because I don't like dickheads on the internet, but
I prefer Petunia. Let's move on. Toot. Want to talk about some remakes? Because we have a lot of remakes to talk about right here, right now. Assassin's Creed, the Ezio Collection, was already leaked on the Korean ratings board a few weeks back. Well, now, this is great. The Game Blog, they're the French website, they actually have promotional material for it. Ooh. They don't have the exact release date on here. They do say it's going to cost $60. It will include Assassin's Creed 2, Brotherhood, and Revelations, running at 1080p, 30 frames per second. You get all the DLC. You even get some animated movies. So you get a lot of stuff. You get what many people say are, quote-unquote, the best Assassin's Creed games.
But do we get virtual reality Animus? Because that's I want to be in the Animus.
You do in all three of those. Not virtual reality, but you play it is virtual reality in those games.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. Here's what I want to get to. They are not releasing a brand new Assassin's Creed this fall. They're going to have that brand new one that takes place in Egypt or whatever. That's going to be happening next year. They haven't even announced that, but there's already been enough details that have leaked. So after what happened with Unity, they still had Syndicate that was going to be coming out, and then they said, we're taking a break. We're taking a step back. Once again, we're bringing up the word brand again. Is this a good idea to put out another collection or even have something Assassin's Creed related besides the movie this fall? Or would it be better to just let that appetite naturally come back? Actually have a big surprise. Instead of having a bazillion online advertisements and television advertisements and reviews and having the whole news cycle and a bunch of different trailers that feature people with hidden blades and jumping off of buildings, does that just kind of hurt their potential for next year in some way?
I don't think so. I think this is actually, it's smart given their strategy that they're not. I don't think that Assassin's Creed should be an annual franchise. It's just, It's exhausting. I don't like the games from my personal opinion, I don't like the games very much, but I like them less when a new one is constantly being shoved in my face.
You're a Templar.
Yeah, I'm a Templar. Sorry, Illuminati. With this though, you're not giving us something new per se. You're giving me something I'm familiar with, something I'm already comfortable with, so it's easier to digest. And I think this is a good way to kind of whet people's appetites for the hardcore Assassin's Creed people out there while they're waiting. But it doesn't take the monstrous effort that it does to develop a new Assassin's Creed game. So I think it's smart. I
wonder, my deal is, if you're giving people 3 big Assassin's Creed games, and these are story-driven games, even if they directly communicate, hey, by the way, this brand new one, you don't have to play the old ones, it's a brand new story. No matter what they say, people go, I still have 2 more of those. I didn't finish Brotherhood and Revelations. Like, I worry that it's going to be one of those things where there's so many of them, even if people like it, they're not going to pick up that next one because they're like, but I need to finish the other ones first because I need to have all the story.
I don't think people do that with Assassin's Creed just because they've been treating it like it's fucking Madden for so long that people realize they can just pick it up and play it.
Is this a defensive year or an offensive year for Assassin's Creed?
Yeah, seriously. No, well, and the other thing with Assassin's Creed 2 is, not 2 is in the number, but as in TOO.
You can say also.
Also. The story fucking is so goddamn dumb, okay?
What?
Like,
why do you mock the history of our people?
you know what? It's fun and it's pulpy, but you're basically getting the same thing over and over again. And if you're playing Assassin's Creed for the rich lore that they are creating for you,
and people do,
yeah, those people are they've already played through all the games anyways. I don't think anybody is picking up Assassin's Creed games in the year of our Lord 2016 and being like, wow, I'm super invested in this fucking dumbass story about jumping in the goddamn Animus. Like, that's not the point.
Let me tell you a story about this woman who is horrible. Her name is Anne Rice. Can't write worth a damn. But you know what? There are people that still are waiting on bated breath to buy her next book. Trust me, people will invest their time and do anything.
Yeah, but at the same time, that's actually a great example, too. Assassin's Creed is the drugstore novel of video games, whether it's Anne Rice or Dean Koontz. But the thing is you don't have to go, man, I have to read all of all the Tom Clancy novels to understand what's going on in this one. You can pick up any of them and kind of get what's going on. And I think that's sort of the unspoken understanding that fans have with the game. You can pick up anything.
I just hope the next year is such a revolution for them, not to be confused with revolution here, but that even if you do pick this up, or even if you played a lot of those games, it reinvents the series in some very meaningful ways that you're instantly sort of engaged, and it could be that kind of soft reboot that the franchise has needed for a long time now. Let's move on. Toot toot. Europe. It's an area that I don't like to talk about very much. However, Sega is in Europe, and Sega of Europe really does call the shots in a lot of meaningful ways. They're the people that push for the sort of PC embrace, including real-time strategy games, that is really keeping Sega afloat in a lot of ways. Well, one of the executives over there in Sega of Europe, Jurgen Post, that's his name, had this to say about Shenmue 1 and 2 remakes. Even online, people are constantly talking about products they would like to see come back, and Shenmue 1 and 2 are probably in the top 2 places. We are looking into it. It is an old IP, it is a beloved IP, and not just by consumers, but also within Sega. We have people saying that if we could do Shenmue 1 and 2 all over again, we'd definitely go for it. Yeah, right. The issue is that this is a big game. It is a project from many years ago. If we are to do it, we want to do a fantastic conversion to current platforms. And there are a lot of licenses in the game, which we cleared many years ago, so we need to renegotiate those contracts. We are looking into it. We have given it a green light. We haven't given it a green light, but it has our full attention. I just want to point out a few things. These are lies. I just want to point them out right here. The licenses that were in the original game. That is a lie. They were all removed for the American version. Coca-Cola not involved. Changed to generic sodas. The idea that...
I was going to say, I don't remember product placement outside of, like, the Sega universe in Shenmue.
The idea that they want to do this fantastic conversion. What are you talking about? I can play these on null DC right now if I want.
Yeah,
you don't need...
Don't convert shit.
Don't even make it HD. Like, keep it in the 4:3 ratio. This is just what I don't understand. Do you know what, we're recording this on the 4th, this is being released on the 5th, yesterday was the 3rd. Every single month on the 3rd, there's something called the Shenmue Thunderclap on Twitter. I'm not kidding you, I'm talking about tens of thousands of people do this. Tens of thousands of people, every single month, saying, please make Shenmue 3, then that happened, and then now it's please make Shenmue HD. Look at the Kickstarter response that they had for Shenmue 3, the fastest Kickstarter of all time. What are they waiting on? This is just bullshit, isn't it?
It doesn't seem like it's that difficult of a task unless they've found themselves in a Silent Hill scenario where they don't actually have the original code anymore, which I wouldn't be surprised.
Sega's very good with keeping source code, though.
Okay, well, that's reassuring at least. Yeah, I don't understand why... I keep thinking about, like, the PlayStation Classics or whatever, where it's like you can turn on some basic, like, smoothing or whatever, but it's in the letterbox 4:3 aspect ratio. You play the game, that's fine. And I wish companies wouldn't focus in on remake so much. Like, you don't need to redo the whole thing in the Unreal Engine. Just Seriously, like, give me the game letterboxed, or if you want to, just convert it to widescreen, which is not a particularly difficult thing to do.
I already did on my PC. I was playing it like 3-4 years ago.
There you go. It's not hard. It's there. God, and this is another opportunity where you can release the games individually as digital downloads, and then maybe put together a nice collector's edition with a little art book, History of Shenmue. God damn, there's so much potential here with very little effort involved compared to developing other games.
You don't even need to worry about the art books. Just throw them online. They can throw them up online tomorrow, and people just buy them. You know what I mean? And I'm not just saying this because I'm a Shenmue fan. And I am a hardcore Shenmue fan. I've been playing it since the very first day it was out. I was watching the trailer every day on my Sega Dreamcast preview disc. Was counting down the days for Shenmue, right? Hardcore fan. But I look at this and I look at any other franchise that's in that same area, whether that be Beyond Good and Evil. Can you imagine if they didn't re-release Beyond Good and Evil on HD or whatever? They did that so long ago. Now it's available on Xbox One because it's backwards compatible.
Yeah.
Any other game in this genre that currently holds that IP, they just release it. There is no reason they can't release this right now. None.
Yeah, especially because Sega has a pretty long history of re-releasing their old stuff. There's that new like digital Sega channel where you can play old like Genesis games. There's been Sonic Mega Collection. There's so many. Like
Jet Set Radio was released years ago. Like think of any beloved Dreamcast game, it's been re-released.
This is territory that they are very familiar with, and they're not doing like full Unreal 4 engine fucking conversions. They're just put it out there, man.
Put the weird square-headed man searching for his dad's killer just on a
And my
console.
God, Colin, if they put out a box set with the first two Shenmue games, and they had an art booklet and just special features and stuff like that, you'd pay $100-$120 for that.
I would pay $5,000 for that.
Yeah, see,
I would kill for that.
God, and that's the thing. You are speaking to a fan base that is passionate, crazy about these games.
You only need to do two things. One, release it. Second, have an option to listen to the original Japanese audio with English subtitles, which fans have already done that for both games. There's no excuse for this.
Yep.
None. Zero. I'm sorry. I don't want to get worked up about cult classics that very few people care about.
We should move on, don't you think?
We should. No more cult classics. No more remasters. Toot toot. Suda51 at PAX West this weekend said that he is very interested in talking with Capcom, and he said he will be planning on talking with Capcom to release an HD conversion of Killer 7. God damn it. Oh my God. He says there's no concrete plans. I don't have any questions for this, Steve. I'm just saying, come on. Do this, Capcom. I mean, really, Killer 7 and Shenmue, you put those out on modern consoles, I'm good. I mean, I own Killer 7 on the GameCube and also the PlayStation 2. Love that game. We've been talking about this for a while now. If they were to just allow you to play this game in VR, just with the PlayStation VR headset, I don't even need them to like up-res this game. If they do, I just want to make it so that the pixels are even harder edges on everything. I don't want to make it look pretty.
Yeah.
In case you don't know, Killer 7 was the game that basically made Suda51 a household name in America. He went on to make No More Heroes. He went on to make...
I think a household name might be stretching it a bit.
No, remember when President Obama said that his favorite game was Suda51? Didn't even say a game, just said Suda51. That was right after Lollipop Chainsaw came out.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, like, this is another instance of, like, look at Capcom. They are not afraid to just re-release whatever. Why don't we have this yet? Why aren't they reaching out for it? Because there is a fan base. Now, if they release a special edition with like a t-shirt and like a figurine, I'd never buy special editions. Shenmue Killer 7. I'm good. I'm done. That's all I got. We can move on. We can go to the actual news and I can stop being a fucking fanboy. Toot toot. Michael Jordan will be in NBA 2K17. It's official. He will be in the My Career mode. Yes.
He's expensive.
Not really, no. I mean, he's been doing okay lately because he was in Creed and he was in like some other really... Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mention it's Michael B. Jordan, not Michael Jordan.
It's a good thing because if you say the wrong Michael Jordan, then he can sue you just for saying his name.
He runs the Boys and Girls Club of America. He'll be playing the character Young Justice, which is the name of the character. He says he's very excited to join whatever because he likes the game series. After last year's extremely bizarre Spike Lee joint, does this pay off for them? Does this help them in any meaningful way to incorporate famous actors or saying, oh, Jay-Z picked the soundtrack? Or do you think they're actually trying to confuse people by saying that this stars Michael B. Jordan? I'm dead serious. Do you think they're actively... It's a fucking basketball game, all right? And they even had their own Michael Jordan mode back in like 2009 that is still universally acclaimed.
I mean, yeah, if I was an insidious like corporate sleazebag, I would totally be all about that. Because it's like, yeah, people are going to get confused. And all of this, it's just gimmick, and it's just to get them in the news cycle anyways. Like, people are going to buy NBA 2K whether it's a Spike Lee joint or not.
Yeah, I mean, let's carry it over to Call of Duty, because I'm sure you read that, Conor McGregor is going to be doing a voice in Call of Duty.
Mm-hmm.
Like, does that really... I understand that gets you that gets you that news coverage for like a day. That absolutely gets you more exposure, and that absolutely will influence some very, very, very small amount of people to pick up that game. But does that small amount of people make up for the cost of hiring a Conor McGregor or Michael B. Jordan? These features that don't even need to exist.
It's kind of like it's a big picture thing. So no one is buying Call of Duty because Conor McGregor does a voice. Okay,
someone will. Well,
maybe like 3 weirdos, but. The way that it sells it is, like you said, it'll bring you back in the news cycle. So people haven't been talking about Call of Duty for 3 weeks. There hasn't been any news stories. Then they release this information. Oh, Conor McGregor. All of a sudden, Call of Duty is popping up on your news feed again. So it gets you thinking about Call of Duty on a regular basis. So that's the point. The point is not Conor McGregor is in the game. The point is you're thinking about Call of Duty again.
I understand that. I feel like it's an inevitability that people will think about Call of Duty. I feel like these small little touches don't secure that much more coverage. I just don't see it. I mean, if this was a different franchise, I would understand.
It secures coverage, but
it's the biggest selling franchise.
Yeah.
It's the last one, Black Ops 3, is the biggest selling game of this generation and the fastest selling generation of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
and the number one way to keep that growing and keep those numbers getting bigger is to keep people talking about it.
I guess, but they already have Call of Duty 4 being released side by side with this. Like, this feels a little bit like overkill. Like, I feel like they're going after too much. Like, they're investing too much. I'm not saying
that's the way it works, man.
I'm happy they're happy. I hope they get their money's worth, because I don't see it. Same thing with Michael B. Jordan. It's like, great actor. Do I really feel like I want to get invested with Young Justice when I make my hyper ugly creative character and make him?
But again, it's not about the guy. It's about just keeping it in your newsfeed, man.
It's Justice Young, not Young Justice. That was the Teen Titans spinoff.
That's a Teen Titans spinoff.
Yeah, it is.
I was like, you're making a Teen Titan creative character? Whatever, I won't judge you.
I should mention that last year's game, during the Spike Lee joint scenes, where they would just incorporate these really weird small scenes where you could tell that Spike Lee's just off camera, throwing out questions and having actors improv.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the mother and father of the main character and talking about what it was like going on their very first date and how they ordered a bagel with cream cheese and they split the bagel. It's this really weird small scene. And then halfway through, because the scene went on for so long, it's just like, yep, that's when I knew she was the one. DualShock 4 is disconnected. Look, it just came on the screen. I'm like, wow, that just breaks the immersion right there. Toot toot. Batman, the Telltale series.
Batman, that comes out real soon.
The first episode already came out.
Oh shit, I missed it.
I'm glad that you had that reaction. Episode 2 will be out on September 20th.
Wow, man, I missed that one. How did that go over my head?
So, well, because it went over a lot of people's heads. I haven't seen the same response for this particular franchise as the other ones, which is baffling to me.
I don't even remember seeing reviews for it or anything.
Well,
Shit.
I did. I actually played the entire episode at youtube.com/videogamesardone. But let's talk about this. Let's talk about this for a second here, buddy. Think about this. Batman, big time character. Telltale. Mm-hmm. They do very well for themselves.
Sure.
They come together. No one's talking about it.
Yeah.
No one. Well, we got a couple of haters out there. I don't know. I went right into the end zone.
I don't know.
But what I'm trying to say was this who's having a problem here? Is this Telltale just going after a franchise that's starting to dip a little bit? I know people love Batman, but hey guys, look at 1998 to 2004. Not a whole lot of mainstream Batman back then. Is that just the era that we're entering in with all the things like Suicide Squad and Batman versus Superman? Or is it that people just look at Telltale and they go, well, that's not the next Arkham game. I don't want that. Mm-hmm. I don't know what the sales were for this, but traditionally with these Telltale games, people talk about them.
Yeah. Is it good?
It's fun. It's a Telltale game and good voice acting and Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's a Telltale game. It's only the first episode, so it's really hard to tell. You know, because it's just building. You have to see where they start taking your choices and establishing more from it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but I would say this is a bit concerning. You know, no one's talking about it. They talk about Borderlands more than they talked about Batman.
Yeah.
They talk about Walking Dead Season 50 more than they talk about Batman.
I mean, my reaction is I don't think you or I are in a position to fully understand why this isn't a thing. And I'm guessing it's a combination of a lot of things. I don't think it's indicative of Batman or DC's stock falling. Because, God, Suicide Squad made $1 bajillion, and it's the worst thing I've ever fucking seen. So, you know, Batman versus Superman was a giant, like, diarrhea fountain of a film, and it still made $1 bajillion. So
I wonder if outside of movies, like how the DC brand is going right now, how Batman is going, or if this is just indicative of the Telltale brand, where people are just like, nope, already played those, don't need that, and that's not Arkham, so I don't care. I wonder.
I don't know. It's really hard to say, and I can't even say without sales numbers, too, because it's entirely possible that a lot of people bought this game and it's just not generating online conversations yet because it's only one episode in.
Well, and maybe when they release Lego Batman 4, you'll find out where that real demographic is.
Also, weird release time, because so when the first episode came out, what, a couple weeks ago?
August, yeah.
August? Yeah, that's kind of
there's nothing else out.
There's nothing going on, yeah.
But you can sit down and play it for 2 hours and you're done. Isn't that a great time? You know,
no, summer is just... For some reason, it's just you don't generate the buzz and the excitement when you release a summer game. I don't know. It's like releasing a movie in January. Nobody gives a shit.
Okay. Let's move on. Dude. Nothing really to talk about this, but Deus Ex Mankind Divided is going to get its very first storyline DLC called System Rift. It will be $12 and will be out in the future.
Sounds like a digital apartheid good time.
Okay, you knocked that off right now. Here's a story, toot, that really shouldn't have garnered any attention, but my God, people were freaking out like this was the end of the world. This is it, man. This is it. First, they raised the price of PSN, and they delay Gran Turismo. Mm-hmm. Now this. Mickey's Castle of Illusion HD, that remake, it got taken offline. Because Disney and Sega...
First, they raised my PSN membership by 88 cents, and I said nothing. Then they took away my Mickey Mouse HD, and I said nothing. And then they came for me.
That is one hell of an audio spike. I'm just saying, this is ridiculous. Besides that, I don't know if you played this HD remake. It sucks compared to the original.
Yeah, I never played it.
Did you ever play the original?
Yeah.
Oh, it's such a wonderful game.
It's a Sega Genesis game, right?
That is one of the most definitive Sega Genesis games. Because you look at that, it's just got Sega graphics. Mm-hmm. You know, it was awesome. Seriously, though, fuck off. Relax.
Why'd they take it down? Just because
Sega and Disney, just the licensing ran out.
Oh, well, yeah, that happens.
It's not even a good remake. Give me a remake of Aladdin on the Sega Genesis, then we can talk, baby.
Yeah, bigger conversation. Digital-only games destroy game history. But, you know, whatever. You know, fuck it. Who needs video game history?
Toot. This is one of the weirdest stories. This is the final one before we get on to where they're going to be the releases. Carnival Games was released on the Wii.
So that's like a fucking Wii gallery shooter shovelware pile of shit.
What if I told you that you will be able to play that game in VR? On October 28th, 2K is releasing this game on PlayStation VR, HTC Vive, and I think Oculus at some point in the near future. But it's going to be $20. I want to break this down for you. You haven't been here for some episodes, and this one subject keeps creeping in. When I look at 2K, and I look at their mobile strategy, what they do with phones. You know, you see what EA does. You know what they do. You see Plants vs. Zombies. You're like, oh, I know. That's, you know, EA owns PopCap, right? Mm-hmm. You look at what Activision will do. They'll re-release some of their arcade classics. They also purchased a gigantic phone company. You look at 2K, they're like, oh, it's the Grand Theft Auto games on PS2, except they're on your phone. Or it's a watered-down version of 2K, except it's on your phone. Are they just taking the exact same strategy with VR? They seem to have no idea what to do outside of mainstream console and PC games.
Yeah, well, and I think you can go further back than, like, you know, mobile devices and what mobile gaming has become, and just look at the original Wii. And it's like, okay, here's a space where we know we need to be. What's the cheapest way we can be there? Oh, we'll just dump a bunch of garbage. So that's what game companies are doing, and that's what... If you look at what's available for the Oculus right now, it's I mean, there's some good shit, but there's also just heaping mounds of trash.
Yeah. I mean, this is when I look at this, it's just kind of like 2K. What the fuck are you doing? They seem to be they unless it's a console or PC game, they just don't bother. They put zero effort into this.
So it's like, yeah, here's a off-brand shovelware Point Blank. No thanks.
But that's the total opposite of everything else they do as a company. Like when they publish something like even something like Borderlands with Gearbox, they make sure that's good. When it's their 2K games, they make sure that's good. Even the wrestling games, they have made sure to actually raise it just a bit year after year, which is something they never did at THQ. And then you look at what they do with something like Grand Theft Auto. They fund the Rockstar games. They let them take their time. And then it's just, fuck it. I don't know. VR, mobile, fuck you guys. Here's some shit. Like, really? Just embarrassing. 2K? Yeah, I noticed. Just put you on blast.
Uh-oh.
Toot. Let's talk about the games that are going to be out this week, Steven. On Tuesday.
Okay. Geez, tell me more, Mom.
On Tuesday, The Legend of Cold Steel. No, The Legend of Heroes. Trials of Cold Steel 2.
Really? What's the video game's name?
The Legend of Heroes.
The game
Trials
vid?
of Cold Steel 2 is going to be out on the PlayStation 3.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of weird. And Vita. I played the first one last year. That was actually very good. Very good JRPG. Didn't finish it. I really enjoyed the systems. Very cool story. Toho Genso Rondo Bullet Ballet on the PlayStation 4.
The fuck is that?
Probably something you would really enjoy. I'm dead serious. It looks like a top-down shoot 'em up.
Oh, okay.
That might be, except you can only get it in this giant box set because it's this random Japanese game. It's got a booklet and everything. It's got everything you've been asking for, Steve.
Good. No, that's what I want.
You might want to. It just happens to also be about
Is
anime
it like a
girls.
cave game or something?
It's like anime girls.
You know, so it's a cave game.
Sure, let's go with that. Steve, can you just sing? Because on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One is Tuesday. Can you just sing? That is going to be out from Ubisoft. The Tomorrow Children will be out on the PlayStation 4. I don't know if this is their early access as opposed to their early access. You can pay for it this Tuesday.
I'm only interested in the children of today.
Okay. That game does look kind of cool. It looks like it has this real oppressive Soviet look to it, and it's a builder survival type game. It looks interesting. You're like little Russian dolls. Watch the trailer. I think you dig it.
All right.
Dogos will be on the PlayStation 4.
Fuck is that? Why do you all these games? I never even fucking heard of any of these.
I didn't copy the description, but weirdly enough, that's gonna be out on Tuesday on PS4. It's gonna be available on Xbox One and PC on Wednesday. And then on Wednesday, Oceanhorn, which is like that isometric, kind of looks like 3D Dot Game Hero. That's going to be out on Xbox One and PlayStation 4. On Thursday, Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney, Spirit of Justice on the 3DS, which that's very, very cool for fans of the series.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jotun, Valhalla Edition will be out on the Wii U. However, on Friday, it will be available on the Xbox One and PlayStation 4. As well on Friday, Stardust, Galaxy Warriors, Stellar Climax on the Xbox One and PlayStation 4. So if you want to have a stellar climax, you know where to go.
I'm stellar climaxing right now.
Let's just move on.
Oh.
Doot doot. Sound like Hank Hill there. That's good.
Dang it, Bobby, I'm climaxing.
That is most certainly going to do it for the hype train. We had so much fun on that train. I had fun on that train. But you know what? Fall is coming soon, and I want to make sure we get outside before it gets too chilly. To a little place that's always warm with the glow of cold hard cash. That's right, it's time for... The Chart Park, the land where money grows on trees. Yes, the Chart Park. This is the part of the show we talk about all the legal business and financial news in the video game industry, and we find out which fat cats of Wall Street will tip their top hats towards Lady Luck. Haha, what fun. I gotta be honest with you, this is probably the smallest Chart Park we've ever done. Small. Real small. Only one story. No, I'm kidding. There's a few stories, but compared to every other week where it is almost rivaling the hype train, we have more in Pocket Talk than we have in the Chart Park.
That is shocking.
That is some serious stuff. We're already halfway through all the stories, though. We have to start off with something that me and Steven are very passionate about. One, Lindsay Lohan.
Lindsay? Is that her Christian name?
Yeah. Lindsay Lohan, of course, has been suing 2K Games and Rockstar for using her likeness in 2014.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Unfortunately, the corrupt law system has declined her case and thrown it out, which just kind of shows you the corruption that's going on in this country. It's just all messed up.
Did they just mail her a definition of parody?
Very close, actually. Here's what they said. As to Lohan's claim that an avatar in the video game is she and that her image is used in various images, defendants also never referred to Lohan by name or used her actual name in the video game, never used Lohan herself as an actor for the video game, and have never used a photograph of Lohan. It's true that there's like no photograph that is exactly what it was. And this is just that image. Just like an image when the game starts up of a girl in a bikini that was also all over the posters.
Mm-hmm.
Lindsay Lohan's like, that's me, which it never looked like her, even though she is perfect.
She's the only girl in a bikini.
Mm-hmm.
The only one.
That was that bikini law. Thanks, Obama.
Mm-hmm.
Even if we accept the blatant contentions that the video game depictions are close enough to be considered representations of the representative plaintiffs' claims should be dismissed because this video game does not fall under the statutory of definitions of advertising or trade. Unique story, character, dialogue, and environment combined with the player's ability to choose how to proceed in the game. In other words, satire, parody, or fiction, which is why the game starts off by saying this is not based off of anybody. However, I have to wonder, the implications of this lawsuit. Did you play South Park Stick of Truth?
Mm-hmm.
There are just points where they just throw out brand names, throw out celebrities. There are real people in that game. Where are the lawsuits for that? Well, obviously they're not there because it is satire and parody. Do you think this will set a precedent where maybe games can be a little bit more loosey-goosey and make real-world references?
No.
Why not? What are you saying, bro?
So, this has set a precedent, which is awesome, but that's not going to stop people from being super litigious. So you're still going to get more and more lawsuits. So the number of lawsuits for shit like this is steadily rising.
Mm-hmm.
But and there are precedents, but it's just like people are like, you know what, I'm going to throw this out here, and maybe there'll be some shithead judge who will actually listen to what I have to say. And 99.9% of the time, that's not the case. But it's just, for most companies, it's not worth the hassle to deal with this. So, of course, Rockstar is like, fuck you, this isn't even close. Like, we'll take you to court. You can sue us all goddamn day. And they're right. But for smaller companies, it's not worth the hassle.
I don't mean smaller companies. I mean, somebody like an Ubisoft can do a Stick of Truth. Maybe other companies can get more references into the real world in a way.
Sure. And I hope that's the case. But I feel like you're either in a position where you're going to do it and fuck it because you're a big company, or you're in a position where you're like, I don't necessarily want to mess with this.
I mean, I would just say, if you want to name a celebrity or a company or whatever, just do a quick search, make sure they're not in Florida, and then just go for it.
Mm-hmm.
That's really all that matters. Florida is a stupid state. Stupid.
It's pretty dumb.
When it comes to laws. I'm not knocking the people of Florida.
I am.
There are many great people of Florida.
Name 3.
I don't have to because they're all great, Steve. Let's just move on. Uncharted.
You were about to toot right there.
No, I
You get the toot hand motion.
I really wasn't going to toot. I'm trying to lean my arm back. Okay, let's go on. Uncharted, the movie. We're both very excited to see this film.
Oh, we are?
Yes, we are. Unfortunately, ComingSoon.net has pointed out that Sony Pictures quietly removed it from their projected schedule of June 2017.
Because it's in development hell.
It really is. The only thing I got here is this just a smart move by Sony? Should they just cancel this project? And more importantly, is there anyone that wants video game movies? And I'm being serious here. Anyone. Critics. Fans. Anyone.
No.
I honestly you don't hear that anymore. You used to hear people going, man, they should make a movie out of this game. You just don't hear that anymore. And maybe when people stop having disdain for it, they can pick it back up. But I still think it's a bad idea.
I think...
Why do you think Sony didn't want to do it, though?
Well, it's not that they don't want to do it. It's just that there's internal problems that we're not privy to. But I think the Assassin's Creed movie will be a good litmus test to see if we're at a point where a big franchise can actually be something.
I just think it's weird to do that mashup with Magneto and, and Assassin's Creed. We'll see how that turns out, though.
How about that Need for Speed movie? How about the Hitman movie?
They just come and go. Remember World of Warcraft? That happened.
That definitely happened.
Yeah. Apparently it is the highest grossing movie in China this year, though.
Oh, that makes sense. Well, because, domestically it did horrible.
Maybe this is just for the Chinese audience. I don't know.
Do the Chinese like Uncharted?
Pokemon Go, apparently, according to Sensor Tower, has made $440 million in less than 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
There's really not a whole lot to this story except for, is it over? And if it is over, I mean, it's definitely slowing down, right? We can both agree on that it is dipped significantly with people.
I don't know, man. It's dipped among my friends who are really into video games. Like, it doesn't have that novelty that it had like a month or two ago, but people don't stop playing it. Like, my God, I drove by the lakefront park in Milwaukee the other day, and it was just scores of people, like literally hundreds of people, phones in hand, staring down, obviously playing Pokemon Go. It was fucking crazy.
Yeah.
It's still insane. I was at that wedding last weekend, and like 5 people just like dipped out because it was at this like golf course, and they were just wandering around the golf course, and one of the bridesmaids was like, "What the fuck are those people doing?" And I was just like, "Oh yeah, there's for some reason there's not like a Pokemon stop at this building, but if you go like a few holes over or something, there is one." Like, that's what they were doing. Yeah, people still, but they're not the people who are like, you know, oh, I play video game, like, you know, people that listen to the show, people like you and I who are just like into video games. But for your average everyday person who just has a nostalgic tie to Pokemon, holy shit.
I think that they have begun to lose users. They reported that you know, the average play time and the average base of players that play it once a day, that's significantly dipping. We are entering an era, a time of the year where it's going to get colder. That's going to discourage a lot of people. I'm not saying it's going away, like overnight. I'm saying that the peak of the fad is ending, which is what happens to all fads. And just because something is a fad doesn't mean that it doesn't have worth or whatever. The original Pokemon was a fad, and it continued for 20 years, almost 20 years at this point. I wonder with this dip which is occurring, if they took advantage of it as much as possible. They made $440 million. I'm not calling it a failure. I wonder if they left some cash on the table by having certain, factors, the way that they...
I don't know if they left cash on the table, because I don't think... Like, I'm sure they knew that Pokemon Go was going to be successful because Pokemon it's a proven thing. Of course it's going to be successful. I don't think they had any idea that it was going to be what it is.
I think we all did. We knew, though.
No, I mean, we knew that, again, we knew it was going to be successful. We didn't know that it was going to be a global fucking phenomenon. So, should they, if we could go back in time and say, hey, Nintendo, maybe you should roll this out with sponsored Pokemon stops. Because that's the other thing, too, is even if we knew this is going to be successful, there's no way that you could convince companies, oh, yeah, you should definitely buy, Pokemon stop placement. Like, people would scoff at that. There's no one would go for that in a million years. These companies, they don't even know what Pokemon is. I literally spent 2 weeks at my job going around on conference calls explaining to old people what Pokemon Go was and why it was relevant to them.
You got paid to explain what Pokemon Go is to old people.
I literally got paid. I mean,
do you think any of them actually understood by the time you hung up the phone?
Oh yeah, I had like a whole one sheet prepared for them and everything.
I'm not saying you're not able to explain it properly to the point where a 5-year-old could understand. I'm just sure they're like, oh yeah, I get it. They download the Pokemon.
Yeah. I mean, very base level, but it's still huge, because now you have to remember the old person curve. Which is like, now that old people are discovering it, this is actually where it's becoming more profitable, because all these companies, they think it's still going to be the biggest thing in the world a year from now. So the estimated ad buy price for Pokemon Go exceeds the Super Bowl.
You know what's funny is, if anything keeps Pokemon Go going, it's all the people trying to make money off of Pokemon Go, as opposed to people that just want to play the game itself. Like, they're exposing it to wider people. I wonder, we knew it was going to be big because there was an episode of the PRESSURECAST a long time ago called Pokemon Go Takes Over the World, where we basically just went down and said, this is going to take over everything. You can listen to that episode right now. It's available on YouTube, iTunes, all that kind of stuff. And I wonder if they must have known what was going to happen. I have this thought in the back of my head, just kind of like, if only they would have had maybe a longer beta, where they could have tested out some of those server issues. If only they would have done this and that. But then you wonder if those issues were actually contributing factors in sort of the passion of playing that game and immediately buying all this stuff because they were worried that they were going to lose connections or whatever. I wonder. I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's move on. The NPD, they are the group that keeps track of the best-selling games in the United States. Normally we have a list of the games, top 10 best-selling in the U.S. We covered that last week. This week, however, we're going to talk about something that they actually bought. Yes, there's business news about NPD. They have purchased EEDAR. I guess that's EDAR. They are a research specialist. The CEO of EDAR, Robert Ligori. It's like an Italian name. A fundamental goal of EDAR has always been to improve the quality and speed by which business decisions could be made for the game development and publishers. NPD shares this philosophy, and joining our resources and passion for the sector will ensure the industry has access to the information it needs. Blah, 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 blah. Long story short, in case you don't know, NPD doesn't just sit around going, I wonder where the top 10 best-selling games of the year. They actually do real work, real research to inform the people that pay them, which are the publishers and the developers. I just have to wonder, they are making an effort to kind of go into a more digital space, following digital games. But in an era where there's things like VG charts and Steam Spy, things that are not 100% accurate, but is there really room for a for-profit market tracking company, especially when it comes to digital games, as a publisher, you know where they were purchased. You have that information more than if it was purchased physically. It's a digital game. You literally get the numbers back from Steam or wherever. Does this kind of cut NPD out of doing something like that? And do they need to kind of invest more into people like Edgar to do special research for these companies?
Yeah, I think this is really smart because I see this as, it's the same space as like where social media analytics are right now, where, I can get basic information from Twitter, from Facebook Insights or whatever. I can get free website information. Oh, how many people are going to this website? There's programs out there that aren't 100% accurate, and they give you just kind of like a broad snapshot view. Now,
I put a view counter on my website.
Yeah, that doesn't stop companies from investing literally thousands of dollars a month in services that provide like in-depth analytics. So if the NPD can provide sales data plus this bonus shit, that makes sense. That's something that companies will invest in.
I just wonder if you're Electronic Arts, if you're like, fuck no. Or if you're 2K, like, why don't we just make our own team?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, do they really find value in it? I'm not saying that there isn't value.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying, will these companies look at this and not automatically go, let's just make our own. We'll just hire 6 people, because we just we only want you to focus on us. I mean, I honestly think the reason people even invest in the NPD group at this point is not to keep track of their own stuff, but to have access to information about other people.
Yeah, well, that's a big part of it too. But it's one of those things where if you weigh the cost and the convenience, it makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm never going to dispute that there is value in the NPD. I wonder if these companies are always going to be open enough to seeing that, to seeing the value outside of them. Because, there is definitely a culture in every corporation. There are definitely people that don't invest in NPD, Blizzard being one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's move on. Denuvo, whatever it is. It's that anti-piracy technology.
Sure.
Remember, we were talking about how they cracked Tomb Raider. We had an exchange of ideas, if you will. We do not exactly agree on this. When it comes to digital preservation or whatever, we both agree that cracking, piracy protection is important, right? However, another game has been cracked.
Crapped?
Yeah, that's what I just said, but that was a mistake. Cracked with Denuvo. That game is inside. I've already made my piece on this. I don't care if it's AAA or if it's independent. This isn't cool for me. I'm not going to go on that whole high horse again. But Steven, how do you feel about the cracking of this anti-piracy technology when it comes to a smaller title like Inside that's only 3 hours long?
Mm-hmm. I mean, the length doesn't really matter to me.
I mean, because people could just play it. I mean, the reason I do bring up that length just real quick is because if a game is like 50, 60 hours long, then maybe people are more likely to actually buy a legit copy. Whereas with Inside, you can pick it up, play it, and be done with it.
Yeah, don't be a fucking asshole and steal indie games. Jesus.
Why? Why is that different, though?
Because it's smaller teams, there's more at stake. There's like real lives of tiny little teams where success or failure of one game can mean like the complete dissolving of their company or their financial futures. So yeah, it's kind of fucking shitty. If you're now, should you still crack that if you need to do it in order to play it in a certain region, but you still like if you buy the game and you can't download it because you got dog shit internet or whatever, and you need to crack it because you're in the wrong region, or you want to preserve it for archiving purposes, that's fine. But fuck it, man, it's an indie dev. Jesus Christ, like give them some money.
I'm just playing devil's advocate here. It's a smaller team. It just got cracked. They probably already made their money back. Like it's not that big of a deal anymore. If it's a smaller team, then they don't need that much money.
I disagree.
I'm just playing devil's advocate here.
No, that's not how video games work.
But they're not as big of a team.
That doesn't mean you don't need more money. I mean, it's because you have to think of like all the overhead costs that corporations can just kind of absorb. They don't have that. They don't have a Nintendo war chest. They don't have investors like an Ubisoft. It's just them. Like they need more money than just breaking even on a game. It's like if you break even on a game and you're an indie dev, then it's like, oh fuck, how am I going to pay my rent? Well, if you break even and you're a AAA developer, it's just like it's like movie studios. Like a lot of their movies fail. A lot of them barely break even, and then they bank on one or two big movies every year to kind of buoy the rest of the system. Music is the same way. 90% of albums don't turn a profit, and then you count on that other 10% to buoy the rest of your album sales. Indie devs don't have that luxury. They're putting out one game every couple of years. Holy fuck, they need all the money they can get.
Once again, I'm just doing devil's advocate shit here just because I've read things online. Well, if they really wanted people to buy it, they shouldn't have put that piracy there in the first place. Because I'm not going to support that. I'm not going to support that piracy. They put it in there.
Wait, you mean privacy or piracy protection, like that's what you're talking about. I mean,
I'm sorry, what the hell did I just say?
You just said piracy. I'm not going to support their piracy. I'm like, wait,
that probably is more accurate to what people say online than I intended.
Yeah.
But they chose to put this piracy protection on their software. I'm not going to support them.
Mm-hmm. And that's certainly, philosophically, I think that's a stance you can take.
But I'm going to steal their game.
There's ethical implications that are involved in that. I don't know what to say to that. I don't know how. It's just odd. I don't know.
If they really wanted people to buy this game, they shouldn't have charged $20. It's only 3 hours long.
No, that's bullshit. Fuck off.
Okay, cool.
Never take into consideration monetary value and length of gameplay. Gameplay isn't it's not a fucking commodity. You're not buying cocoa beans or something, you fucking asshole.
I will just say everything you just said is how I feel about AAA studios. I've already made my peace on this on a number of occasions.
Whereas I hate corporations, so I say steal everything.
Listen, do you love people? Because corporations are people, mister.
Oh, God.
Let's go on to PewDiePie. He was suspended on Twitter. Why are we covering PewDiePie? Well, he's
a terrorist.
He's involved in the video game industry. He is. He puts out a video. It sells games.
And he's the leader of the Islamic State.
Kinda. He was suspended on Twitter. Nobody really knew why. He was brought back on. And he said that me and Jacksepticeye, who is a buddy of his.
Yeah, another screamy YouTube man.
Has joined ISIS, which is why we both got unverified. I believe he was temporarily suspended again, and then he was brought back over saying that. Yes. So that was a little bit strange. No one exactly knows what took place.
So nobody knows why he got suspended in the first place or unverified?
No one really knows. Here's why I want to bring up PewDiePie, though. He actually had a few things to say about this, and I'm going to say some things that I normally wouldn't say, but I'm just going to read the quote for you. I'm fairly certain social media is making us all retarded. Yesterday, Twitter went full retard. Did you ever see that movie? Where did that come from? Where the guy, he's wearing black paint. He's trying to look like a black guy, but he's a white guy. He's painted up, and he says full retard. God, there's no irony in that whole situation there. That is something I want to emulate and repeat. PewDiePie has gone on a number of occasions to apologize for certain language he has used in the past. By using the R word repeatedly, does this mean all of his future apologies are a bit insincere? I mean, joking about ISIS is one thing, because fuck it. Fuck ISIS. But then to go like, I'm just going to throw out the R word twice in a statement that's like less than 20 words.
Yeah, that's...
5% of it are offensive language.
Oh God, it's Jesus.
To be fair, if you have any sort of physical or mental issues, Why can't I just throw a few insults your way? You can take a joke, huh?
Oh god.
Come on.
Yeah, with PewDiePie, Jesus. I mean, I believe that his apologies are sincere, and I think he's taken some proactive steps towards making his community and his audience, which is just insanely large, just, making them a little less vicious, which is nice because YouTube can be a horrible cesspool. But yeah, that's really disappointing. And you know what? He's young and he's dumb and he makes bajillions of dollars.
He's not young anymore.
He's less than 30.
That says no. I mean, once you can rent a car, you gotta like fucking step up.
25 is like.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Like he's made some.
I'm curious how old he actually is.
He said that he had no idea people were gonna watch this and read this and all this kind of stuff. Now you do, dude. You got over 40 million YouTube subscribers.
Yeah.
Maybe chill on using some fucking stupid language.
And I'm not saying that. I'm not excusing his language or his behavior because that's fuck you, PewDiePie.
Mm-hmm.
However, I really think, like, God, you're making that much money. Don't you have a fucking publicist? Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
he
really.
has to. He does like tours and shit. Like, he put out that book and he was doing a book tour. I know he's got a publicist. God.
Mm-hmm.
Think about, like, before you tweet out something idiotic.
Which is half of it's a movie quote. From like a movie from like 2009, 2008.
Yeah,
Like, come on, man. Just use your little brain a little bit. I mean, all he does is sit around and play video games all day. He doesn't deserve that money.
Well, and I think that the
I'm
bigger
kidding,
story
I'm
here
kidding,
is
kidding.
The bigger story here isn't the reason why he initially got banned and de-verified and then brought back and then banned again. Isn't that more compelling than him just like rattling off some bullshit?
Mm-hmm. That's true. It's weird. I don't know. For me, it just comes down to those things where when you're younger and you kind of hear people that kind of push against the system, you say I can't do this, and so I'll just do it. It's very empowering, and it's like, yeah, go for it. But then you begin to realize that there's a big difference between just throwing a big fucking baby temper tantrum and throwing out words that are deeply offensive to people that have no reason to be attacked, because it's essentially you are attacking those people because, even if you don't intend it, that's what you're doing there. And then the people that are actually just in their protest in one way or another. But he's like, you don't want me to use offensive language? Well, then here it comes. Take that. Like, who are you attacking, dude? Like, really, fuck off.
Yeah.
Like, take that person with Down syndrome. Yeah! Gotcha, motherfucker.
Yeah, some reason.
Why would you do that?
I don't know. People, maybe it has to do with, like, the distance, like, the personal distance between being famous, but being famous because of things you do on the internet. So, like, you have to remember that most of PewDiePie's day is spent in, like, a room playing video games and then putting shit on YouTube. So you're kind of separated from your audience.
Mm-hmm.
So, and this is a common problem with YouTubers is...
And his audience will never correct him on this.
No.
Never.
Well, they're never going to correct him, but more importantly, like, you don't understand the power that you wield. Like, it's cool that he's got, like, 2 million followers, but it's not like actually being in the physical real world and you have 2 million people following you around telling you you're fucking awesome. It's you have this distance from your audience, so you don't realize that.
That's a
like,
Twilight Zone episode waiting to happen right there.
Yeah, but this happens all the time. Like, if PewDiePie said, "Hey, I think you should yell at this person on Twitter," he would instantly ruin their life. Like,
yeah.
A lot of big YouTubers don't know the power that they wield.
Well, knock it out, PewDiePie. You're not the idiot of the week, but just by barely. By barely. Let's move on to the top 10 best-selling games in the UK. Number 10 is AOT Wings of Freedom. I don't know what that is.
No, that isn't.
Number 9 is Grand Theft Auto 5. Number 8 is Assetto Corsa, which I actually played a little bit this week because I wanted to do an episode of Worth It On. I found it too fucking difficult to play, so I just was like, hold up. I'll say that for some sim racing people.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was, it's like...
That's one of those games that's like, oh, we photographed every square inch of this racing course, so it's the most real shit ever.
And I respect that. I will stick to my, Project Cars and Forza and Gran Turismo.
Real enough for me.
Real enough.
It's real enough to me, damn it.
I actually looked up an interview with that guy. He seems pretty weird.
I don't imagine.
Number 7 is Lego Star Wars The Force Awakens, because the UK had a gas leak, I presume.
Mm-hmm.
Number 6 is Uncharted 4 Thief's End. Number 5 is Madden 17. Number 4 is Overwatch. Number 3 is No Man's Sky. Number 2 is FIFA 2016. And number 1 is Deus Ex Mankind Divided.
I didn't know Madden was so popular in the UK.
Madden.
Do you play as those NFL Europe teams?
No, Madden will be... there are American football fans over in the UK. There really are. I wouldn't expect to see it on the top 10 next week. That was its first week bump.
Mm-hmm.
Then that's going to be going away soon. Let's go over to the cursed land of trains, known as Japan, to talk about the 10 best-selling games. in Japan. Number 10 is Dragon Ball Fusion on the 3DS. Number 9 is Sengoku Barasa Sandra Yukimura Den on the PlayStation 3. Number 8 is Hatsune Miku Project Diva X on the PlayStation 4. Number 7 is Tales of Berseria on the PlayStation 3. Number 6 is Sengoku Barasa Sandra Yukaruma Den on the PlayStation 4. Number 5 is Sengoku Otome Legend Battle on the PlayStation Vita. Number 4 is The King of Fighters 16 on the PlayStation 4. Number 3 is No Man's Sky on the PlayStation 4. So No Man's Sky doing quite well over in Japan. Only selling 22,000 copies for the week, but that's still pretty good for I guess it's no longer worth pointing out, but a first-person game in Japan. Number 2 is Tales of Berseria on the PlayStation 4.
Wasn't this like a big news story too? Like, oh, No Man's Sky is a failure in Japan. It only sold 22,000 copies.
For the week. For the week, kids.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
But number 1 is Yokai Watch 3 Sushi Tempura! Okay, on the 3DS.
Yeah.
Which Yokai Watch 2 will be out, I think, in October. Looking forward to it. I fucking love those games.
Hashtag White Dog Squad.
Okay, do not get up in my red cat face with that bullshit. All right, let's talk about the best-selling consoles over in Japan. New 3DS LL with 19,300, PlayStation Vita with 8,923, PlayStation 4 with 5,812, Wii U with 4,519, new 3DS with 4,460, PlayStation 3 with 1,067, 3DS with 520, 3DS LL with 179, and in last place, dipping by 2, is the Xbox One with 50. And that's going to do it for the Chart Park, the land where money grows. Entrees. We've been talking about some big money, but I think it's time to talk about the small things. And we have a lot of small things to talk about. That's right, it's time to get tiny. It's time for Pocket Talk, Pocket Talk, Pocket Talk. We had a Nintendo Direct this week. And in this Nintendo Direct, it was focused mostly on 3DS. And we had a bunch of new 3DS games. We're just going to run through a list real quick. All right. Super Mario Maker, arriving on December 2nd. You were not able to upload stages. However, you were able to download them, and you can share them amongst friends. Yay, nay, you going to pick that up?
No. I've always wanted Mario Maker on the 3DS, but this doesn't have the feature set that I want or need, so I'm not interested.
Let me just run through the rest here. We're not going to give them all time. Yoshi's Woolly World is going to have some brand new stages and be released on the 3DS.
And a Poochie Amiibo. So
yes. Yoshi's Woolly World, the Wii U game, is coming to 3DS. Mario Sports Superstars features golf, tennis, horse racing, soccer, and baseball. So it's like basically that sports mix they used to have on the DS. Which there was an anniversary of that not too long ago. So a bunch of different sports games in one cartridge for the 3DS, which will be out in spring of 2017. They also have a brand new Pikmin game. Real quick, it's a side-scrolling game. Did you watch the trailer for this?
I did not see the trailer for this.
A lot of people are angry because it's not Pikmin 4. You know, they want Pikmin 4 instead they're getting this game. I'm more concerned because the trailer looks like shit, and in this age of marketing, there's absolutely no excuse to show shitty parts of a game unless your game is probably going to be shit, just like Yoshi's New Island. This looks horrible. It looks like a barren landscape featuring Pikmin. It looks embarrassing. I cannot. I don't know what the hell they're doing that. Besides that, I don't know about you, but Pikmin fans are big fans of Pikmin. When you can't just put Pikmin in something else and they go, oh, I like it too because it got Pikmin in it. Anyway,
yeah, that's odd. I'll have to watch the trailer.
That'll be out in 2017. Dragon Quest VIII Remake will be out on the 3DS at some point in 2017. It got a delay. However, Dragon Quest VII is coming out on the 3DS on September 16th. That's only about a week and a half away.
Cool.
Tank Troopers. You got tanks. There you got troopers, and they get wacky powers like fire and ice and things like that.
Wacky Tank Boys, sign me up.
It's going to be out on the 3DS this winter. So there you go.
Yeah.
Why did I skip through all those stories? Oh, I don't know. How about if you own a fucking Wii U? If you were sitting there going, hey, that's one of our exclusives. Mario Maker is going to the 3DS. Hey, Woolly World, that's also going to the 3DS. Oh, man, a Mario sports game is going to the 3DS. Pikmin thing doesn't look too good, but that's going to the 3DS as well. Even these Dragon Quest games are going to the 3DS. How in the hell are you supposed to feel this fall with nothing coming out on the Wii U? You got that Mario Color Splash Paper Mario thing, right? Let me get this right. For $80, go get yourself a 2DS, and you can play the best of Wii U from last year, without Splatoon, obviously, and a bunch of new games that will never come to the Wii U because it's over for the system. How is that supposed to make you feel as a Wii owner? Wii U owner.
It's kind of crazy because, well, I mean, I've come to terms with the fact that it's a lame duck system, but on top of that, I mean, earlier we were talking about how Sony's stuff for the fall isn't that great, about how Microsoft has like Gears and not much else going on. Like,
and that's fine if you have third-party support.
Yeah, which the Wii U doesn't. But it's just crazy that for first-party titles across the board, there ain't shit.
No, but more importantly, I would say for Nintendo, I just think the only people that own Wii U's are the most hardcore of Nintendo fans.
Yep.
This, I think, is mildly offensive to be like, not only are we going to take away your exclusives, we're going to have all new games and you're not getting anything.
Yeah, well, and I guess this would sit a little bit better with me if there was a Nintendo Direct with some NX stuff, just like little teasers or something. But it's like we've come to terms.
We're not ready to talk about that, Steven.
I know.
We're just not ready to talk about
it. It's NX. It's next. It's
Peekaboo!
Not right now. Yeah.
Peekaboo, here's the NX.
Where the fuck is my Detective Pikachu gameplay footage?
That's also going to be only available on the 3DS. So I mean, they came out in Japan already. They came and went.
I want more Detective Pikachu.
I know. Let's talk about more 3DS news. On December 2nd, there will be Welcome Amiibo Animal Crossing New Leaf, which is a free update that allows you to use your Animal Crossing Amiibos. Or you can actually buy a physical version that will already have that installed in case you don't have an internet connection. So you can use all the card Amiibos from Animal Crossing, and all those Amiibos that have Animal Crossing characters, which is kind of cool.
Cool.
Oh, wait a minute. I forgot to mention that the Animal Crossing Amiibos are the worst selling of all the Amiibo franchises. I wonder why they're putting this out.
Yeah.
What, your dumbass board game didn't sell more of these? That's just bonkers. And that's really going to have to do it for Pocket Talk, but I guess all in all, for that Nintendo Direct, yay or nay?
Nay. I'm not that interested in a lot of the stuff. I already have the Wii U versions of those other games, and the only thing I'm floored about is Poochie Amiibo. I want Poochie Amiibo in my life.
I don't want to sound like a broken record here, but seriously, that's just a middle finger to their Wii U owners. Yeah. It's the same damn company. You know, how on earth can you say, oh, we can take those games from the Wii U and we can bring them to 3DS, but you can't take the damn 3DS games and put them on the Wii U? And there's all these rumors that we're going to have some sort of portable hybrid. This is all rumors, right? Mm-hmm. That they're going to have a hybrid of handheld and a home console. And they just screw over their home console?
Yeah, a lot of times the Nintendo Directs, they sort of oscillate between home console focused and portable focused. But this one, at least they pay lip service to the other one. But this is just like nothing.
They re-released the original Skyward Sword on the Wii U eShop.
Hooray.
So enjoy this fall. Enjoy Paper Mario. Fuck you. Hope to see you in March. Buy a new system because we've done such a bang-up job supporting you for the past year and a half. Like, that's insane. I think it's the most insane thing they've ever done. You know? Whatever. Well, that's going to have to do it for Pocket Talk. Pocket Talk, Pocket Talk. Let's not be negative Nancy's anymore, okay?
No.
Okay. Let's talk about the idiot
that's something positive.
Of the week. Koei Tecmo has announced that there will be a brand new VR mode in Dead or Alive Extreme 3. What? Hey, Extreme 3. It's the game that features all those well-endowed women of the Dead or Alive series. And they like to play volleyball and lay on the beach and stuff like that. And you get to look at them. You get to get your jollies looking at these women. Fair enough. Now they have a brand new VR mode where you can get a little more hands-on, if you know what I mean. The woman just kind of stands there, and you can pick up her boobies, and they bounce around a little bit. You can poke her in the butt. You can touch her. You can touch her all you want, man.
You know, I've been saying for a long time, you know, what video games need is an immersive sexual assault mode.
Well, hold on now, because that's not sexual assault, right? Until you watch the video, and you realize that the girl that you're touching does not want you to touch her. She is... I want to make this very, 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 very clear. If they come out with a VR game where you're just fucking everything, I don't care. Cool. Sexuality is a part of human beings. It does need to be represented better in video games. I think that's important because, you know, otherwise we're going to be... we need to branch out between, Larry Lounge Lizard And
Leisure Suit Larry.
yeah, wow. I could
Larry the Lounge
I'm just
Lizard.
making up names right here.
Yeah, I'm fine with sexuality in games, but like, can you imagine? Let's again look at the analogs with other mediums. What if there was a movie or a book where it's just like, and then the girl stood there staring blankly at you while you fucking made her boob go up and down?
I mean, there's, it's not always a one-to-one comparison when it comes to other mediums. Video games are very different things, and I'm totally fine if you just want to, if it's basically like a blow-up doll, and you could say, hey, that's demeaning to women or whatever. But I honestly, as long as this game creates a fantasy, I think, of someone that's willing, you know, and don't get me wrong, there are people out there that want to simulate rape. I get that. I am not trying to. I'm just trying to cover all my bases right here. It's getting pretty dark. I understand that.
Okay, so explain how in this game in particular it's clear that you don't have consent to poke the butts.
She makes a very loud noise that's like like not a pleasurable sound, not a throaty grunt from a moment of passion, but just kind of like like she does not want the noises.
God, why would you program that in?
Now, don't get me wrong. I understand that there are different noises for pleasure in different countries. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But this sound is just like, no. And I know
Not into it.
people are going to be mad about this, but there is a such thing as rape culture. And when you have a game where you're taking this weird metal prod thing, I don't even know what the fuck you're holding. You're poking this girl in the butt.
You're literally prodding women.
Yeah, and you're touching their breasts and stuff like that, and they do not want to be a part of it. They are not into it. These virtual women, they're not real, right? So why don't you make them want to be a part of it?
Yeah,
that's what I don't understand.
That's essentially like, okay, so if this was just, you poke their boobs and their butts and their whatnots, and then they go tee-hee, then I would roll my eyes and be like, God, this is so fucking stupid. But the games have always been that fucking stupid.
Yeah.
So it'd be like part and parcel. This is like, what the fuck?
Well, and I forget the name of the guy that actually made the original games, who actually left Koei Tecmo for sexually harassing women. But he was always very defensive about the way they treated the girls in the games. Yes, they would become, they would be objects for you to look at, but you wouldn't go that extra step. He said no to nudity. He was like, no, we're never doing stuff like that. We're protecting them. Yeah, they're great, but you can't have them. He always wanted to create that distance. Here, you're literally fondling a girl who is not giving consent, who is not willing in any way. It's real creepy. And if you think, you're rolling your eyes and saying, no, what the fuck are you talking about? Rape culture? Dude, get over it. Watch this video. You're going to be like, oh, fuck. And the worst thing is it keeps cutting to the guy playing in VR. The guy just, he's on his knees. He's trying to poke. Look, that's really creepy.
I want to make a penis fencing game in VR. Like you hold the PS4 wand, like the move controller, on your dick, and then you penis fence.
Look,
that's what I want. Make it happen.
I think we need games that are exclusively about sex. Just a game that is nothing else about it, just sex.
They're out there, man. You can play those.
We need some good ones. I don't know. We need to cross that bridge and figure out it in some ways. Obviously, there's one that was taken off of Steam for various reasons, which is really unfortunate. We just need to be okay with that. But
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. Japan sure likes to make games that are real rapey. Stop fucking doing that. Creeping me out.
Dude, just you know what? Scrap this whole thing. Make Dong Fencer Musashi.
That's.
I'll let you have that.
Like Bushido. God damn. I can't come up with a good pun there. I don't know. I got nothing. But Koei Tecmo, for giving people money to sit at desks and develop this weird, creepy, non-consensual prodding of women, once again, you can make the virtual women into it. That's where it goes beyond it for me. You guys are the dumb motherfucking idiots of the week. Just, wow. You had to record audio for that.
Yeah. Girl's like, so do you want me to like moan in pleasure? No, just pretend like you really don't want to be here. It's like, good, that's easy.
Once again, I understand that people have different kinks. Some people actually like to create a situation where it's non-consensual, but that's the situation they're creating. Those HBO free weekends really fucked me up as a kid, I'll tell you that much.
I guess so.
Because you watch all these things and be like, all right, cool. Let's just run far away from that last segment. Let's stop saying you're an idiot. Let's stop saying PewDiePie's a Dumbo. Let's start saying thank you. And a little segment we like to call, oh, thank you for the email. This is the part of the show where people contact the show from pressurecast@gmail.com, 954-947-7377, and at PressureCastPod using the hashtag PressureCast. Hey, you just talked too fast. I couldn't follow it. Dude, just read the description below. We've got all the links available there for you.
Got all those hot deets, baby.
We're going to talk about Keon's voicemail in just a second, but first we need to talk about Omar, because Omar is a person that contacted the show, I don't know, a month or two ago.
Mm-hmm.
Omar's back, motherfuckers. And here's what he has to say. Hello, guys. I'm the Marine guy that lost his arm while serving. I listened to the podcast where you guys went into detail on what I should do, and here's the update. Omar lost his right arm. He's like, hey, I want to play some games. Dude, I want to play some fucking games. What do I do? And we're like, I don't know, but here's some ideas. Mm-hmm. And he went out, he scoured the earth, and he came to his own conclusions. Here's what he said. Since then, I have been doing my own research. Wow, I really took the words out of his mouth. And I'm stoked to tell you guys that I have found a game that allows me to use one arm and a special Razer TARDIS gaming pad, which I'd never heard of the TARDIS, I don't think, which is awesome. Mm-hmm. And it's software to dominate. And that game is Rocket League. I've heard you guys mention that Rocket League is your gaming palate cleanser, so I went and tried it, and I went from rookie to veteran in 3 weeks.
Damn.
Doctors hate him. Nah, just kidding on that. Oh, no, here it is. And now my girlfriend hates me, and I have gained 20 pounds. Nah, just kidding on the last part. But I thank you, and I'm excited to play more games, and with special setups to be able to play them. I guess if you want to, you'll find a way. By the way, my dream is to be like that Deus Ex guy. Maybe one day. Keep doing it up. Out, Omar.
Dude, just practice your Adam Jensen voice.
Yeah.
Oh, they're oppressing the Augs. They're sending us all to Aug camp.
Now, while I'm already terrified of his abilities in Rocket League, giving him a robot arm that could just like, you could cheat with the robot arm. You could plug it into the computer or the console, right? Well, I'm just saying, and then it would automatically do everything.
Mm-hmm. Machines are taking over. I've seen Terminator. I know how this one ends.
Omar, that is so fucking cool. There's really nothing else to say except for, and I'm not exaggerating, that made my day. When I read that email, it warmed my heart because it's one of those things where I didn't know where this was going to go. I'll be honest, where I'm like, I don't know, maybe there's some third-person shooters. Maybe you can play it on, I don't know, easy mode, maybe some adventure games. And he comes right back and he's like, oh yeah, I'm a veteran in Rocket League. Which, let me tell you, veteran in Rocket League, that takes time, that takes skill. This is a game that is not easy. People get so mad at Rocket League after like the first few hours, like, this game's bullshit. Either you stick with it or you give up. Mm-hmm. Omar clearly stuck with it, and now he's like dominating.
Yeah. No, this is super cool because I love doing this show and I think it's awesome. But at the end of the day, like we're just talking about video games. It's just like who cares?
Whoa.
But when someone contacts us like Omar did, and then we kind of talk about this issue that doesn't really get talked about a lot at all. And then we hear back from him, and we get an awesome update like this. Like, it's super cool. Like, actual warm, fuzzy feelings. Nice.
And it is worth pointing out, he just found his own stuff, because we did not recommend that controller. I sure as fuck would have not recommended Rocket League. I had no idea. Omar, keep us updated. This is interesting.
This is cool.
Because it's one of those things where, there are areas where you can follow this stuff, but you don't follow, like, one individual actually being like, hey, check out this game I found out. This is the controller that works for me. I'm telling you, dude, Omar, get on that YouTube. I'm telling you, there is an audience for this. I guarantee it. There are people out there that really want to follow this, Especially if you put up some highlights of that Rocket League,
Oh, yeah.
Rocket League really is. Honestly, if you can only play one game, Rocket League is...
It's your desert island?
Dude, I still, every day, will play 1 to 2 rounds, and that's been going on for over a year.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, I never lose, and I'm the best. So, you're very lucky there's no crossplay yet. I'm just saying. Just saying there. Actually, I lost 4 rounds in a row recently.
Way to go.
I actually knocked it into our own goal. Anyway, let's, Omar, thank you for the email. Please keep us posted. I love hearing about this. Let's go on to Keon. Keon has a very cool voicemail. And let's, I don't know, let's take it away, Keon.
Hey, Colin, how's it going, my man? This is Keon calling from Baltimore. Just wanted to ask you a very quick question pertaining to an episode I believe you did 2 weeks ago where it was pertaining to you talking about actually having different themes in games, things that have not really been hinted on. I believe it was about the Augs Lives Matter and how you were talking about, actually bringing up different topics and subjects in video games that may have never been hinted on before. And I just wanted to know, Colin, do you think that we live in an age where finally, video games are actually having a rating board, M-rated games, teen-rated, just like the movie system? Do you think that we will finally see some of these different developers actually go into controversial topics that movies have covered for years? Case in point, I think that Mafia 3 is doing something very different outside of the box a bit. And this is not to get political or anything of that sort, but if anyone has ever been interested in the game, I'm sure they've seen it. But it has the KKK in there, and that's never been something that's been tackled. And I actually admire that because it shows that it's really, tackling certain, issues for the time period. So, it's not a race thing, not at all, Colin. It's not that. It's just me bringing out an example. That's it. But I just wanted to know, do you think that we will see more of this in gaming as we go along, since we are at a point where games are at an all-time high in popularity? I don't want to ramble on too much more, Colin, but thank you so much, brother. I really appreciate you. I love the show. I try to spread the word about the podcast as much as possible. And with that being said, keep up the excellent work, and you take care and have a great day. Bye-bye.
Keon, thank you for the voicemail. Real quick, before we answer his very interesting question, he actually called twice. The first time Keon called, something happened with his phone or something, and he said, "Oh, crud, hold on, let me call you right back." And that's totally acceptable.
Yeah, it's totally fine.
Guys, you can call in. You don't have to be a public speaker to call in. And if you fuck up, or something happens, just be like, "Hold on, don't use this. I'm going to call you right back." Well, I never see when people call. I just see the voicemails. So go for it. You don't have to be, this amazing public speaker. Just do what you do. Be awesome. But Keon, very interesting question. More politics in games, more real-world issues in games, and specifically with his reference, the KKK is in Mafia 3. Which doesn't that say so much about how behind the times video games are? We're just getting to the period where the KKK can be the bad guys. Keep in mind, the 1940s Superman radio show featured an episode where the KKK were the bad guys. And in 2016, video games are finally like, we're going for it.
Yeah.
I mean, we've definitely taken out Nazis in mini games, but they are a foreign army. That's what the Nazis always were. They were a foreign army that we were fighting against. And we've never dealt with domestic issues. Mafia 3, it stars an African American. It's going to be talking about race relations. There are going to be scenes that take place in Vietnam. The treatment of soldiers returning from Vietnam. And now he's also going to be like kind of a crime guy. And now he has to deal with a racist terrorist organization, a domestic terrorist organization in Mafia 3. Does this belong here? Should they be commended for at least attempting, even if it doesn't make it? Even if it doesn't make it, is this a step in the right direction?
Mm-hmm. I think, I'm of the mind that everything is political, and when you can speak...
What about Taco Bell?
Taco Bell is absolutely political. When you can speak to important domestic political issues, whether it has to do with race or oppression or whatever, like that's great. I think video games are an amazing medium to explore this, and we've seen, like you said, smaller indie games that have been able to do this on a really personal level, which is cool.
But
the caveat is AAA games are still in this period of stunted growth where, it's like games have come so far, but they still have the minds of like a 16-year-old teenager. Plus-
in a good way, in a bad way.
Yeah, in a good way, in a bad way.
I don't want too much social commentary in a skateboarding game. I want it to be about fun and hanging out and having a good time.
Sure.
Diversity.
Yeah. And so we're just getting to the point, like you said, where they're starting to sort of test the waters on exploiting these things in bigger games, and there's always going to be pushback. Get your politics out of my games.
Video games are about fun.
Yeah,
go play The Last of Us. It's just about fun.
Yeah, everything is political. If you're playing a game where you're just literally, if you're playing Doom and you're just shooting hell demons, that's still a political statement, whether you think it is or not. But I think it is good they bring in real world issues. The one thing I would caution though is you have these huge teams of hundreds of people that are working on this. A lot of times the message can get muddled, and I think that Deus Ex is a great example of this. Now, I haven't played the game itself, so I'm speaking in terms of how it was presented initially.
Okay.
With the whole digital apartheid thing, and so by appropriating all these other concepts but not doing a good job of explaining it beyond like this is our marketing for this thing, I think it takes a delicate touch. When we see this in films, there's usually one, maybe two, sometimes a couple more screenwriters that this passes over before you make the movie. With games, it's like writing by committee a lot of times. So I think you have to just be careful that your message doesn't get muddled or become ham-fisted or too broad.
And I think we're in that age, though, where this is possible. Because I do want to point out there are political games out there that have existed. I think you could say Assassin's Creed is political. There's a reason that before every single game starts, they say, hey, we got people of all different, races, religions, gender identity, sexuality, all of it. They're all in our team. So please just play our game. But do they come out with a real message at the end? Not really. That doesn't quite happen. However, if you play something like a Metal Gear game, for as goofy as it is, Kojima is definitely saying to you, war is stupid, it's monstrous, it turns humans into soldiers, and it turns civilians into victims. He always has a very particular anti-war message in his game, despite having enormous teams, And then you look at something like The Last of Us. Don't want to talk about what that game is about because I think you should check it out for yourself, but there are definitely moments where any other game, that would have been taken out. They're like, oh, come on, this is unnecessary. But they wanted that in there. I think as long as the director, as soon as auteur theory kind of is more established in video games, and more importantly, when those people in the positions of power are willing to take a risk and say, look, you're the publisher, we're the developer, I'm the dude falling on the sword at the end of the day. When you look at something like Spec Ops: The Line, it's kind of tragic because that game, just everyone fell apart. They went their different ways. Even before it came out, it was like Greg Kasavin goes over and starts making things like Bastion. They never could make that. They made this great statement about something, and then it went on. Unfortunately, what we're talking about, the best examples are all about shooty, shooty, bang, bang, because we have to talk about war. But they're anti-war, so there's something deeper. And you feel it in your brain when you're playing these. You're like, there's something more to this. I'm more engaged. There's more curiosity. There's more thought to this. And I think if you're just like a 5-year-old or whatever, you shouldn't be playing violent video games. I don't care if you do, but you probably shouldn't be. But you'll at least, you can just play it as a dumb game, I think when it comes to Mafia 3, some 5-year-old's going to be like, I don't know, I'm going to shoot the guy in the white cloak. I don't know, what is that, a ghost or something? Like they're not going to have the context for it. But I do think I think failures are important. And if we aren't willing to allow for ham-fisted political messages in games, we're doing a disservice. We have to be open to look at what happened, just something that's a little bit more palatable for everyone. Look at the superhero genre. Look at, there was the original Batman movie, and there were the original Superman movies, but then you look at all the Marvel movies, and they were crap. Look at Nick Fury starring David Hasselhoff, and just look at the 1970s Spider-Man movies, just all this shit, and it was garbage. And now look at what the Marvel Cinematic Universe is and how much it means to people. You need to have those failures, no matter how horrible they are, to make something very special. Unless it's a video game adaptation to a movie, then never try that. That's just a bad idea.
Fair enough.
Yes. Now, I do think video games should come out and say which political party they support. I'm kidding. Keon, thank you for the voicemail. All the contact description in the description, contact below.
That was a sentence.
This is the 146th episode.
Man. You got a big celebration for 150. You're going to have streamers and shit, some confetti.
Maybe.
I'm gonna cover the studio in fucking confetti and ruin your life and glitter.
We'll see. That'll be 4 weeks. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, now we need to take a look back at the week that was, which will be September 5th to September 11th. That's awkward. That is going to be the week, though, if I'm not mistaken. And a little something, nope, it's going to be going until the 10th. 5th to the 10th? No, it's the 12th. And 4th.
September 11th is a Sunday.
Yep, 4th to the 11th. Of course, because Backlash will be available live on the WWE Network for only $9.99, where Dean Ambrose is going to be taking on the phenomenal AJ Styles, who will come out on top with the World Wrestling Entertainment Championship. Also available on the card, it's The Miz taking on the show-off, Dolph Ziggler. I'm just going to promote that, you know. Either way, and a little something we like to call Strong History. This show is off the rails. 10 years ago, the Bible game, a lot of talk about politics and games, was released on the Xbox in the United States. Surprised they didn't release it in Japan. This, of course, was a follow-up to a NES The Bible game, and it was like a quiz game. I've heard it's horrible. Yeah. Also, 10 years ago, on the Nintendo DS, the very last incarnation of Point Blank was released. Point Blank DS.
Wasn't I just talking about Point Blank earlier in the show when we were talking about that carnival game thing? That's fucking crazy.
I love Point Blank.
Point Blank's great.
I know, and the DS version I guess is pretty good. I never played it because you know. I mean, I think we were talking about Point Blank 2 at one point not too long ago. Or maybe it was the original one because this is the DS one. Also, 10 years ago, Loco Roco was released on the PSP. Probably one of the most identifiable PSP games. You play as the big orange blob and use the L and R button to kind of rotate the screen. It still holds up very well, I would say.
Yeah, great art design. It's a cool game.
As a mobile game, really works. Also, 10 years ago, and this is so hard for me to believe, this has only been 10 years, Yakuza was released on the PlayStation 2 in the United States, which I played it before it came out in the US because I was working at Blockbuster, and it was one of those things where technically the game is released, but it just isn't released, so I was like, okay, I'll rent it before it comes out. It was awesome. It was very, very good. And then I actually played through it, what was that? But 18 months ago, I played through the whole game, and I loved the first
Yeah, where's
Yakuza.
Blockbuster now?
They're just waiting on that Yakuza copy to come back. 12 years ago, Silent Hill The Room was released, which was Silent Hill 4, which, of course, is the game that took place
Directed by Tommy Wiseau.
Let's not. Did you play Silent Hill 4?
Yeah.
Did you like it?
It's okay. I mean, good on them for kind of changing up their formula a little bit. I think it...
It's a really cool concept.
Yeah, it's conceptually interesting. In some ways, it's very ambitious. I think in its execution, it doesn't exactly hit all the points that it's going for, but nice try. A for effort.
The whole thing with the serial killer, I could not follow for the life of me. I could not understand the plot of what he was doing. Whatever. 12 years ago, Burnout 3 Takedown was released on the PlayStation 2 and original Xbox. Burnout 3... that's just a moment. That is a moment because I don't know about you. I loved the Burnout 1 and 2. I had a ton of fun with those Acclaim games. Acclaim back in the day. When EA picked up the Burnout franchise, I was so skeptical. I could not believe what I was seeing when they showed off that footage. It was like Doom 3 all over again. Like, how is this game that good looking? That was also the last one to have Crash Mode. How fucked up is that?
That is fucked up. I love Crash Mode. That's what I spent almost all my time with that game doing. Fucking shit up.
What did you play it on? PS2 or Xbox?
PS2. I didn't own an Xbox. What am I?
You're a PS2 fanboy. Well, bad news, dude, because Metal Gear Solid 2 is coming to Xbox, and then everyone's going to buy an Xbox. That was a real argument I remember back in the day.
Huh.
Also, 12 years ago, Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green, which are actually remakes themselves, were released on the Game Boy Advance. Some people like those games. I don't care. Also, 12 years ago, IGN launched the Direct-to-Drive service, which was one of the very first downloadable services. That was a big deal, where you just download the games directly from Direct-to-Drive. And I know Ubisoft was an early adopter of that because they are an early adopter of everything. Also, 12 years ago, hold on to your hats. You might be surprised. It's already been 12 years since the Hula Hamsters was released on Windows.
That sounds fun.
I just thought I had to put this in there.
It sounds like a screensaver.
It does, doesn't it? Sounds like just some knickknack you buy at Walgreens at 4 o'clock in the morning. We're like, oh, it's their birthday. I better bring something.
Hulahamster.jpg.
Yeah, you can already see it in your head. It's kind of messed up. Very pixelated. 13 years ago, Final Fantasy Tactics Advance was released on the Game Boy Advance. That is one hell of an underrated game right there.
Agreed.
I mean, I being able to take a really deep, meaty tactical game that was recognized in the United States was super cool because obviously Fire Emblem existed, but it didn't have that cachet that it did in Japan. Also,
I played the shit out of that. That and the Ogre Battle game.
Oh, wow, yeah.
That was really good, too.
Ogre
Game
Battle.
Boy Advance.
You know, you should get a PSP just so you can play Ogre Battle, Let Us Cling Together, which is a really good game. Also has Final Fantasy Tactics, War of the Lions, which is also very good. Some of these games get a real bad rep. I don't get it. I think they're really good. I don't know. Also, 13 years ago, PN03 was released on the GameCube, marking one of the only Capcom 5 that actually stayed exclusive on the GameCube. That was because 14 years ago, I guess you could say, Capcom went on stage with Nintendo and saying, check this out. We're going to launch Resident Evil 4. We're going to launch something called Killer 7, PN03. God, I can't remember. Iron Phoenix. And yeah, that never actually was
I don't know
released.
what the fuck PNO3 is.
And Beautiful Joe. And they're all going to be Capcom exclusives. Well, only PNO3 happened, and Iron Phoenix was canceled. PNO3 was a rhythm shooter adventure game. It just doesn't work very well.
That's a lot going on.
It's the lady in like the white leather with like the gold sunglasses. I'm sure you've seen it.
Just Google it. Use Google.com. Figure it out, Steve.
When you get to the library today, look it up, all right? Also, 13 years ago, Pick Me, Honey was released on the PC in Japan.
That's actually the prequel to Pikmin.
My dad... This is the real description. My dad brings... This is really the description. I want to make sure. This is all in the first person. My dad brings home 3 lovely ladies for me to choose a wife from. Choose a wife from. In order to succeed my father's business, I have to live with them and determine who it will be. It won't be easy, but I have to make a decision. What's better? There are 2 more babes waiting in the wings. They all love me and battle it out, competing to become my bride. They cook, clean, wash my clothes, and even take baths with me. In the breathtaking battle of love, life is capital G-O-O-O-O-O-O, capital D, good.
Good.
That's right, ladies. Wash my fucking clothes, and then I will decide.
Are you sure you didn't take that from the dust jacket of your autobiography?
No. Okay. As much as I enjoy perpetuating the idea of submissive women, I can't come up with this gold.
No. And you don't take baths.
Never. I'm a shower man. I had to jump in the swimming pool next door.
That chlorine burned all the grease off me.
14 years ago, Advance Wars was released on the Game Boy Advance in America. Why don't we have more Advance Wars yet?
I don't know. What was the last one? Battalion?
Which I guess actually was not developed by Intelligent Systems.
Oh.
Kind of a funny name for a dumb company.
Oh!
Also 14 years ago in Japan, Ikaruga was released.
That game's awesome.
Yes, it is. One of the last real big Treasure games. Treasure being a studio. Other than that, I don't know what else Treasure made, but we'll have to wait and see. 14 years ago...
You don't know.
14 years ago, and I will never stop mentioning this every time the anniversary passes. 14 years ago, 2002, Ants Extreme Racing was released on the Xbox and PS2.
Is that based on the Woody Allen animated film?
It is based off the Woody Allen, Sylvester Stallone animated movie from DreamWorks, which DreamWorks animation is so different now. Ants is a horror show. It is a horror show. It is like literally disembodied heads dying and pleading for you to kill them before a giant foot crushes them.
And is this like a kart racing game?
Yes.
So like Stallone's was like, hey, I'll take this car.
Yeah, of course they were able to get Stallone.
I don't know. I mean, did she want to have sex with me? Does she not? Should I turn left? Should I turn right?
Yes, that's true.
That's what happens the whole time.
14 years ago in America, Blinks the Time Sweeper Cat.
Fuck, Blinks again?
I love that dude. That's
You do not love Blinks, you fucking liar.
I have a copy of Blinks, and I saw it today.
Okay, when's the next live dive? You gonna live dive some Blinks?
I haven't been doing live dives in weeks because
do a fucking live dive with Blinks, and then I want you to tell everyone how much you love Blinks.
All right, motherfucker.
Just stick your thumb in Blinks' ass.
Okay. 15 years ago on the Dreamcast, Shenmue 2.
Never heard of it.
We already talked about Shenmue before.
It's cool. It's cool video games.
17 years ago in Japan on the PlayStation, Oreo no Ryori was released.
What?
It is a Japanese only game. It never came to America, and there's been a lot of spiritual successors trying to replicate that game. None of them are as good. Not one. Don't even try it. This was a game that was launched with the analog controller in Japan, not to be confused with the DualShock 3, or the DualShock, an analog controller. So you have to cut the carrot, right? You have to hold the left analog stick slightly to the left and tap down on the right stick to chop the carrot. And you have to make sure you're doing it very precisely or else you'll cut your
Cooking
hand.
Mama shit.
Better than that. Cooking Mama is dog shit.
Man, I always associate the launch of the analog PS1 controller with Ape Escape.
Well, you know what? Those apes can go ahead and escape because I'll be sticking with this game right here. You want to cook the soup? You put it right on the pot. You walk away. Oh my God! Someone just stole money out of the register. You have to chase after them. Left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot by moving the analog sticks.
Jesus.
You gotta wash the dishes. So you gotta move the dish with the left stick and then do a circular motion to wipe away all the grease and whatever. There's roaches there. Move the fly swatter and swat it with the right stick. It is so much fucking fun. I cannot stress to you how great this game is. It's amazing. Orino Rio. PlayStation. 17 years ago. 17 years ago. Well, we'll talk about this for a second. Blue Stinger was released on the Dreamcast.
God, that game fucking blows.
And so was Arrow Wings, as was Final Fantasy VIII on the original PlayStation. Probably my least favorite of all the PlayStation Final Fantasies. And I incorporate the bad re-releases of the Super Nintendo games. Also 18 years ago, Mega Man Legends was released in the United States on the PlayStation. NFL Blitz was released on Nintendo 64. My favorite version. No load times. So good.
Yeah.
Did you play a lot of Blitz on 64, or was it...
Absolutely. I bought a copy of Blitz 2000 at Midwest Gaming Classic.
That's true. You know what's weird? I'm not as big of a fan of Blitz 2000 as I am the very first Blitz. I just feel like it really nails it. Not to say I don't like Blitz 2000. Just, 18 years ago, Spyro the Dragon was released in America. Parasite Eve was released. Parasite Eve came out a lot later than I thought.
Yeah, it's pretty late, especially considering that there's a sequel. And there's a third one. Isn't there like a game on the PSP called like The Third Birthday or something? And it's supposed to be like the third Parasite Eve.
Funny enough, we're talking about the 18th birthday. That's 6 times 3.
No.
That's not really quick. Based off a novel, too.
By Sapphire? Oh, that's Push.
Heart of Darkness was released 18 years ago. I don't know if you remember that game. It was sort of like a...
It's like Out of This World, but you're a kid and you die.
I've seen some people that really hate that title. I'm shocked at how mad people get. I don't know. 19 years ago, Final Fantasy VII was released in America.
Damn.
Which, that's arguably the reason the PlayStation succeeded, because you put out those trailers. My favorite thing about the trailer was the biggest entertainment event in the country isn't coming to your local theater, only on PlayStation. It was very good. Very good. 20 years ago, X-Men vs. Street Fighter was released in the arcade in Japan, marking the very first time that the Capcom characters would face off against the Marvel characters.
X-Men vs. Street Fighter.
Yeah,
that was my arcade voice.
Have I told you about on the PlayStation where when you start up the game, it goes, X-Men versus Street Fighter. You press start, it goes, this is X-Men versus Street Fighter. He just says it, he just reiterates, he doubles down. In case you didn't listen to me the first time. Also, 20 years ago, Kirby Superstar was released on the SNES.
I love that game.
Probably the last time Kirby was great. Like, just great. It's been good, not great. More than you could say for Yoshi. 21 years ago, I made a big mistake and purchased Street Fighter the movie, the game, on the PlayStation.
Ugh.
Still have my copy. And a PS1 fight stick. There's a live dab for you. 22 years ago, I always have to bring up this game too. Even if it's the Japanese or American release. King of Monsters 2, The Next Thing, was released on the Neo Geo CD in America.
Yeah, that's a fun game.
Remember that last thing? We got another thing. Also, 22 years ago, SNK released the Neo Geo CD in Japan. It was a new console based off of the Neo Geo with incredibly slow load times.
Yeah.
It actually sold 25,000 copies in its first day.
That's pretty good for Japan.
That's more than the games are selling this week, and the industry's even bigger now. 23 years ago, Steve's favorite game on the SNES, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tournament Fighters, was released.
Oof. I thought you were going to say Turtles in Time. I'd be like, yeah, I love that game.
Turtles in Time, of course, was the often forgot about inferior game to this incredible arcade-style fighter that was never released in arcades. You want to play as Casey Jones? Yeah? And fight against Splinter? Get your buddies together.
I think my favorite thing about that game is there was a really late in life NES release of that game too. So it's just like, one, why are you releasing this late in the console's life cycle? And two, how the fuck do you play a fighting game with just 2 buttons?
The NES version is actually okay. It's not amazing, but like... Well,
I don't think that's a popular opinion to hold.
Well, they had to No, I'm saying the game's not good. When they released it on the NES, they had to simplify fucking everything.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think they realized this is just wasted space. Whereas I feel like on the SNES and Genesis, they overcomplicated things out of some sort of like inferiority complex. Like they wanted to fake strategy. Whereas like the other one's like, no, let's make it fun.
I think they're all poopy diaper games.
Okay, fine. Also, 23 years ago, in the United States, Gunstar Heroes was released on the Genesis. We're going to be closing out with some Gunstar Hero music this week.
That's my GOAT, man. Greatest of all time.
I would also submit to you that if you were to say Gunstar Heroes is the best game of all time, I would find it difficult to disagree.
Yeah. Name one other game where you can fucking kill a giant asparagus. That's the mini boss of a level.
What other game can you play? There's literally a point in this game, in case you don't know, it's kind of like a Contra-esque shooter. Not nearly as difficult as Contra. Far more control. You can just straight up pick up dudes and throw them off screen. Or you can just kick them in the head. Or you can just a little dive and punch them and take off a ton of damage. And you can get different guns. So you got like a laser gun. But then you can take that laser gun, you can actually match it with something else. So if you got like a homing gun, so lasers just going around the room and everything's just exploding all at the exact same time. And then you're fighting against this giant robot that transforms into a giant fucking gun while you're going down a subway tunnel. And you're jumping onto the ceiling and jumping onto the floor going 100 miles an hour. And it's shooting you and shooting you. And then it turns into a giant robot and it's chasing after you. That is one stage. One stage in this motherfucking game. Gunstar Heroes will blow your mind if you have never played it. Fuck that game.
It's really good.
Also, I always wanted to see Green get back together with them. That really broke my heart. There's just that smidge of story where like, oh, they used to be the Gunstar Heroes, and now he left them and joined the bad guys. Great music,
R.I.P.
too.
Oh, yeah, great music. Great everything.
Yeah, and in case you don't know, Treasure, very small office, very quiet. They had no idea people really liked their games. And they probably will be closing in the next year. So there you go.
That's depressing.
Yes. And probably like the owner's dog died or something. Whatever. 27 years ago, in Brazil, the Sega Master System was released. Now, if you know anything about the Sega Master System, it had a kind of a life, I guess you could say, in some areas of the world. But in Brazil, it just kept on going. Even into the early 2000s, people continued to play the Sega Master System in Brazil. And most notably, there was at one point a hostage situation where someone had the Zapper gun for the Master System and was holding someone at gunpoint, and all the police showed up. Big deal there. 30 years ago, in Japan, Banana was released on the Famicom. Banana.
Classic Banana.
I actually looked it up, and I know what it is. But I think it's more fun to make you guys look it up. Banana on the Famicom. 33 years ago on the Famicom, Mario Brothers, not to be confused with Super Mario Brothers, was released in Japan. However, I have actually separated 2 very significant anniversaries right here. 17 years ago, it was 9/9/99.
Ooh, Dreamcast.
The Dreamcast launched in America with launch titles such as Hydro Thunder, Mortal Kombat Gold, NFL 2K, NFL Blitz 2000, Pen Tri-Isolon, Power Stone, Ready to Rumble Boxing, Sonic Adventure, Soul Calibur, TNN Motorsports Hardcore Heat, that is the most 99 ever of games, Tokyo Extreme Racer, and Trick Style. What's the best launch title, Steve?
Power Stone.
That's right, Sonic Adventure. You know what? I actually don't know what I would go for more, Power Stone or Soul Calibur.
Yeah, Soul Calibur's good, except you could play Soul Calibur elsewhere at the time, whereas Power Stone just kind of came out of nowhere and smacked you in the face with awesomeness. And
that was actually one of the very first Capcom 3D fighting games, which is even more shocking. I like playing as anyone that, because in Power Stone, it's basically it's like a 3D Smash Brothers. And you will find these gems that make you ultra powerful, and you just pick up stuff and rip it apart. You can pick up a tree and swing it like a baseball bat and knock someone back.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and it's one of those games too where you can pick it up today and it still feels like you could still have a great time with your friends playing that game.
But I think it's important to look at this within the context of time and where we were. The ability to take Soul Calibur home, I think was more significant than Power Stone, even though I would rather play Power Stone today.
Yeah, I think Soul Calibur is the more significant launch title. And then, of course, Sonic Adventure is pretty significant in and of itself, even though I think it's a dog shit game.
I think that this is the console, the Sega Dreamcast is the one that killed video games. Everything we knew about video games was over. It was the perfect bridge where arcade ports mattered less than they ever had before. We were at the final cusp of it. Sega was running out of things to port. And at the same time, you could connect to the internet on your console. Obviously, you could do that with the Sega Saturn. And even
Play all
with
the
some
choo-choo rocket you want.
Yeah, and Phantasy Star Online. Sega Dreamcast is the most underrated console of all time. Not because it's underrated, but just because I feel like calling it so. I just want to give it something.
Shenmue fanboy.
It deserves something. Sega Dreamcast is cooler than your mom. Okay. 21 years ago, this week, Sony Interactive Entertainment launched the PlayStation in America with Air Combat, which would later be known as Ace Combat in its sequel, Battle Arena Toshinden. I accidentally copied...
Battle Arena Toshinden?
Yeah, I love that.
Battle Arena Toshinden.
I accidentally copied down one of the wrong games here. Dangle was released on the PC 98 the same day.
God.
I don't know what that is. ESPN Extreme Games, Rayman, Ridge Racer, and the Raiden Project. I love all of those launch titles. There's not one I don't like. Think about this for a second. What?
Go through the list.
Air Combat.
Good game.
Battle Arena Toshinden.
Not good. If you play that now, it's fucking impossible.
Don't be.
And honestly, at the time, even at the time when it came out, not great.
For the time, it looked great.
It looked great, and it played like dog shit. Keep going.
If you go under the options, you can change your control scheme where your shoulder buttons will do the special attacks. Makes it way more fun. Just saying.
It's a little inside baseball, but go ahead.
ESPN Extreme Games.
That is a horrible game.
You are so wrong. You are so wrong.
And the great sequel to Extreme.
No, the sequels suck. The first game was great. I'm sorry, going down an Aztec temple on a luge board is so cool. And you're fucking punching a bicycle wheel to knock someone off. That is... It's basically Road Rash with whatever. You kids don't even know what Road Rash is.
It's Road Rash if it was goofier and controlled like a fucking boat.
A very goofy Road Rash. Ridge Racer.
Ridge Racer's great.
Goddamn right. You get to play Galaga during the loading times.
Mm-hmm.
Rayman 1.
Rayman's good, but it was kind of irrelevant at that point because it was on so many other systems.
It was on the fucking 3DO and like Jaguar. Yeah, those barn burners.
No, and I think there's a PC release too, I think. But
maybe you're right.
It was a known quantity. It's a good game, but sure.
This was at a time, though, where consoles had better graphics than PC.
Mm-hmm.
Just at this time. Obviously, that would change. And the Raiden Project. You've got to love that. Do you not remember that? Oh my god! It was a top-down shooter that had Raiden 1 and 2. My big purple laser beam, man.
But it's like again, it wasn't anything special. Like,
oh my god!
I have that game for my Jaguar.
Okay.
And it was a PC game too.
Obviously, a lot of the games that you're probably saying, like, why aren't you talking about Jumping Flash or Resident Evil? Those were not launch titles.
No.
Those came in the weeks ahead. I know in October it's Twisted Metal because that's how I remember. Let me put it to you this way. I've said this before and I will say this again. Remember in like the mid 90s and late 90s, they'd have those Motown revivals where all the old Motown guys would get up on stage and sing their songs, and you would see like those like slightly overweight 55-year-old women jumping up and down like fucking teenagers and crying. When I am that age, PlayStation 1 games are going to be my Motown. I mean, when they're talking about ESPN Extreme Sports, I'm going to be fucking like bald as shit with a big ass gut and crying, be like, oh.
This is literally the saddest thing I've ever heard come out of anyone's mouth.
No, because for me, the PlayStation 1, I feel so fortunate to have lived in the age that I have lived because I got to embrace 2D hard. I was at the right age where I could play all the games I wanted to, and I played nothing but 2D games. And then right when I started to get a little deeper, it started branching off into 3D. Like, I feel like I at no point did I split. Whereas I think some people went from 2D to 3D and they went, this is too complicated for me. I can't play this. I had it all, baby. PlayStation 1. So good. Dreamcast, come on. Was that a tear in your eye? I think it was. Okay.
Something like that.
Dreamcast, PlayStation 1, go. Versus.
Which one's better?
Yeah.
Oh, PlayStation 1.
Mm-hmm.
That's not even an argument.
Same.
Dreamcast is spunky. but it's not great.
The Dreamcast is shockingly close for a game that didn't even exist for almost a tenth of the lifespan of the PlayStation.
Mm-hmm.
Shockingly close.
It's a weird comparison too, because
No, I just made it.
the Dreamcast is like, does it belong in the generation of PS1 and Nintendo 64, or does it belong in the generation of the first Xbox and PS2? And it's like neither. It's this weird bridge.
But enough about the Wii U. Okay. On a scale of P to T, spelling out PRESSURECAST, how good of a week in history is this? T being best, P being worst.
S.
I'm gonna give it a T for teen. And that's gonna do it for Strong History. This has been a long episode. 2.5 fucking hours.
Jesus fucking Christ.
I know, I hate everything. So I think we need to close out the show. Steven, where can people reach you on the internet?
Hey, you can find me on twitter.com @SteveCuff. That's @Steve, CUFF. That's @Steve,
See you, friendly face. Continuity.
You can also go to optimismvaccine.com. It's a really cool website that I do a lot of stuff for, and we've got incredible articles about pop culture and video games and movies and all kinds of great shit. I also host a podcast called the OpVacCast. It's a whole network of podcasts, and you can check that out on iTunes, on Stitcher, on TuneIn Radio. You should go there. You should listen. You should do the whole rate and review thing. That would be great for me. Yeah, that's about it.
That's great, Steve. Well, people can follow me on Twitter @Dr. Karate Chop. That's @Dr. Karate Chop. You follow the PRESSURECAST @PRESSURECAST You can contact the show in the descriptions below. I don't know what's going to be happening this week. I guess maybe I'll have a video some point. I don't know.
Shout out to the random guy who's a fan of the PRESSURECAST who followed me on Instagram, too.
Nobody following me, huh?
Yeah. I'm just raking in the followers, man.
Well, that's fine. You rake in those followers and your precious Instagram. But let me tell you about Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. They're all companies that come and go. Where's AOL these days? That's right. Nobody knows. But don't worry. The PRESSURECAST will never crumble because the PRESSURECAST is forever. See you guys. PRESSURECAST, weekly video game news podcast, is solely owned and operated by Colin Tanner. Guests of the PRESSURECAST are not employees or freelancers of Colin Tanner, the PRESSURECAST, or VideoGamesAreDumb.com, and are not paid. Music featured on the PRESSURECAST is property of their respective owners, and no infringement is intended. For more information, email pressurecast@gmail.com.